3, 2, 1, and welcome back to Chasin the Racin.
Dan, tonight we have the delicious, the freshly shaven Joe Ackroyd, because we're no longer in Movember. I bet that was a pleasure to get rid of.
It was a dream. 1st of December, get this little thing off my face. It was horrible. It was just awful. You just have to spend the whole time looking around, looking seedy. But it was all for a good cause. It was all for men's mental health.
I mean, I'm going to put it out there. Shaving it off hasn't helped.
It's my eyes darting about it.
I tell you what, the best thing is, it's around about, I think that's a record for us. I think it was 10 seconds in before the first bleep. That's the best bit.
Oh, shit, yeah, sorry. You can start again if you want.
Mate, we are not starting again. But ladies and gentlemen, across from us tonight is, well, YouTuber TT Racer.
Former TT Racer.
No.
TT Racer.
TT Racer.
Yeah.
Crew chief, I don't exactly know your full title, but also YouTuber, commentator, all round, hell of a nice guy, Wavy Davey. How are you doing, son?
All right, mate. All right. Yeah. I mean, I'm pleased you've had the heater on in here because it is the depths of winter in Lincolnshire, isn't it?
I tell you what, I'm over the moon because this is going on your meter.
Oh, so, that's fine. Yeah.
Just don't bill Grace, for the love of God. No. Don't bill Grace. We're running on a budget as it is, mate. But I tell you what, I feel like we should just wail straight in. Why the hell are you called Wavy Davey? Did you
that's and the oddity is, it's a really dull story.
Oh, that was tonight.
Yeah. So,
well, it's been good to see you, Dave.
Told you it was going to be shit.
And you were right.
No, but you had it on your leather, like AM, white and orange levers. You've always worn the same.
Yeah, I've been called it for years. Basically, when I was 16, I worked down the local Ducati dealership, like polishing bikes and making crap cups of tea and stuff. Just a Saturday boy. And one of the mechanics, Lee, he decided to call me, he wanted to call me Gravy Dave, because Dave Pearce was Ravy Dave. We are talking back in the 90s. Dave Pearce is Ravy Dave, so he decides to call me Gravy Dave, which firstly is a terrible nickname, and secondly, I don't like gravy. So,
what? We don't like gravy?
No. If it's hot and brown,
we've lost all 10 followers that we had.
Yeah, fresh dog shit.
Yeah. Well, I don't like, if it's solid and brown, I don't mind. Chocolate's all right, but once it's hot chocolate, I'm not interested. Gravy, just weird. I've never quite understood why you want to make all your dinner taste the same. It's like, I've got lots of different bits of dinner that all have their own flavour. Why do I want to pour brown all over it and just ruin it?
What was your first year at the TT?
07, centenary.
Same as Steve Platerson?
Yeah.
Who else was a newcomer that year?
Gary Johnson.
What the?
Was Gary a newcomer in 07?
Gary Johnson, Steve Plater, Keith Moore.
Wow.
I was about to say, is everyone from Lincoln gone on a bus? But Kiefer Moore is definitely not from Lincoln.
No, he is not. No.
I can confirm.
Is it Jimmy Moore? American lad Jimmy Moore? He was. He only did a couple of years. But he was quick.
American?
Yeah.
Who's the fastest?
Only American I ever know is Mark Miller.
Is he the fastest septic tank?
No, Mark Miller's.
Mark Miller's
quickest, didn't he? 1:26 on a Gixxer 1000 a few years back. The
right.
thriller, Mark Miller. I've raced in Mexico with him. He's a good lad.
There's going to be lots of layers to this story tonight. Yeah. Mexico.
Oh, yeah. I've got road racing in Mexico, because why wouldn't you?
Is that the one that's like a point-to-point, though?
We've done a hill climb.
Because there's a point-to-point one, isn't there?
Yeah, there's a hill climb.
That's called the cane races.
No, I've done. I nearly went there this year, but they had to cancel it quite late.
Was that with Jim Hunter?
Yeah.
So Jim Hunter's like the coordinator for that event, and it's
he sort of corrals a few people over here. Yeah.
Because give me a name, man. Isle of Man lad. Joe Yeardsley.
Yeah.
He won it last. Is that like?
I can't remember. Gary Johnson's done it before.
Yeah.
Matt Rees has done it.
Yes.
But no, weirdly, I've not done that one, but I've done... We're just talking about a race I haven't done, which is... Actually, there isn't that many.
But the cane's on there.
Yeah.
So, he's going to come out of retirement now.
Well, yeah, I'd like to tell people I'd stopped, not retired, because retirement sounds like an old person thing, doesn't it?
Go back to 07. Who else were the newcomers?
Actually, no, that's about it. So... But
it's a fair lineup, that.
Yeah, there was seven, I think there were 7 or 8 of us. I can't remember the other names. Mark Ramsbotham, who crashed.
What a
Joey's. Name! Yeah, that didn't go so well. Who else was there? There was some quick lads. Ian Mackman. Mackers was 07 as well.
The Ian Mackman.
Yeah.
He is a legend.
He is.
He is. I tell you what, he rode the Nortons when they were unrideable. You know this documentary series about the 500 being unridables.
Yeah.
Nothing compared to that Norton.
Yeah.
That boy should have invested in a gum shield. He probably bit the screen and went for it. He put Norton where they are today.
Exactly.
After that.
Well, he did.
Yeah, you wouldn't. Bloody PTSD going through.
Did he do? I think he did 2 years on that thing.
No, he did. I think he did 2 years on the Norton, but then he came back with James Powell, with No Limits.
Yeah, I know Powell.
So Powley. So
Powley had mechanic for him before. Powley had been his mechanic for...
Them two have been friends for a lot of years.
Yeah. And I remember seeing Powley in Colours nightclub.
Here comes the stories.
With the you get the wristband, the TT competitor wristband, which gets you in everywhere, and you striking lucky if you've got the competitor wristband on. And so Powley's walking
next to his Rolex.
Never happened.
Well, it was Colours. It was back in the day, Joe. And Powley's walking around Colours nightclub with Macca's wristband on, and he comes up to me and he goes, "If anybody asks, I'm Ian Mackman." And I'm like, who's asking that question?
The worst, big shout out to Powley. I know he listens to every episode. And,
hello, James.
Now, unfortunately, I think Joanne Mackman, Ian's wife, is a wonderful woman.
Oh,
I'm defending my own skin here. I know she listens to this, so I have nothing to do with this one, by the way.
No. Well, no, the thing is, Ian would be in his, sat in the caravan in the paddock or whatever, and Powley's just nicked his wristband and gone on the prowl.
Why'd you have to say it like that?
Because have you not met him? He's married now.
He's a lovely lad. I love David.
He's married now. That's in the past now.
Of course it is, yeah.
Yeah. First time I met James was working at Bill Smith Motors in Cheshire, or wherever it was over that way. Yeah, and I went with a mate of mine, and we've stayed mates since. Absolute legend, that bloke.
What, you and the mate you went with, or...?
No, me and the mate I went with, he's dead.
Right.
So yeah, we'll move on from that one.
I'll kill that conversation.
But
me and James have, he's a legend, is that bloke.
He is, he knows all the right. I tell you what, he will move heaven and earth to get you there.
Yeah.
And same with Joanne and Ian set up their own bike shop, 2 Max Motorcycles. Yeah. Bit of a plug there for you. That's the thing with this game. It's...
Well, we get to know everything, don't we?
You do, don't you? You know what I mean? And we're like a travelling circus. We've said it on the podcast from day one. You know what I mean?
I think especially in road racing, because I remember when I went to TT, I'd done a couple of years at stock level at British, where people will push you on the grass on the warm-up lap to make a point.
Oh, you're a pedigree. Oh, right, you're a proper racer.
I wasn't actually bad when I went to TT. I've got worse since. That's because I went straight to TT. I didn't do Manx. I went straight to TT because I'd done Superstock. That was my first road race, was 07 Superbike.
Really?
Yeah, deep end.
How many years did you do in stock thou?
2. I did year in Superstock Cup, because they had 2 classes. And then the second year I went championship and either, crashed or rode around at the back, basically.
Who won it that year in 07?
I have no idea. American lad. Aussie lad. Brandon Rogers. Brendan Rogers? He went on...
Brendan Rogers, yeah.
He went on
R6 Cup. He came up through R6 Cup, didn't he?
Yeah, and then I think he got a factory Ducati contract for European Superstock, but had a big crash in it himself, and that was him done, I think.
Yeah.
Bloody hell. So I tell you what, quickly bullet point your early, so we jumped from working in a Ducati dealer, taking knocked off Rolexes as payment.
Yeah, knocked off Rolex was years later. So,
but club scene for how many years before stock?
Did year on rookie 400s with I think 5 or 6 meetings with Bemsey. Then did 2 years at Super Sport 400 with Bemsey. Nearly won the title the second year of that.
You never let it go, do you?
Nearly,
you know what I mean? You see it. You could see it in his eyes that all them years ago, and he's like, nearly.
Nearly. It was near enough that I led out. It was whoever won the last race won the championship of 40 races, and I led out the last corner, and Riccardo Ballerini drafted me to the line. But how was I going to beat somebody called Riccardo Ballerini?
That is it. That's why you have to let it go now, Dave. You got beaten by a dude with a far cooler name than Dave Hewson.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Riccardo Ballerini.
Right, yeah.
It's better than Joe Ackroyd, Dom Herbertson.
Whoa. Don't
I'm sorry, mate.
Yeah. No,
you're always going to get outdrafted by him.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even know.
Exactly,
an Italian name.
And he even had long hair, so long hair flapping as he just drafted past me. He beat me by about, I don't know, inches.
That was already set and fate, wasn't it? That,
It was, yeah. I didn't stand a chance.
I'm sorry for you.
I'm just trying to remember, imagine this story in Italian on the other side of the world.
I don't know.
It's very flamboyant.
I beat him by a 2 mile. 2 mile.
Yeah, I toy with him all season. I toy with him. I just let him have point here, there, and then I comb my hair and I win. It is fantastic. Yeah. But he wasn't
That's all
from
of Italy
Wales.
offended now by you two. Makes a change for me not to be doing it.
I know. There we go. You got to throw it in there.
But I did lots of hand movements with that. That you can't, if you're just listening, you can't see it. But I looked more Italian because I was waving my hands around.
You haven't actually mentioned where your first racing was. Were you in the heart of Italy by any chance?
No.
You grew up in Monza or something.
No.
Where
Unfortunately,
we're feeling sorry from, but he could have had a very European upbringing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, obviously did the Spanish 125 scene for about 20 years, and
invented Red Bull rookies.
Yeah,
you know
that's
what I mean?
it. That sort of thing. Yeah.
No, but where was it? So Lincoln, what would have been the club round here then?
Cadwell's nearest track, isn't it?
Cadwell's only half hour away, but New Era with the local club almost. But when I was looking through the regs before you start, and their 400 class was Formula 400, so you could do whatever you wanted. Whereas Bemsey was super sport, so it was a bit more restrictive, and in the end it's not that much different. But I did that looks more manageable sort of thing, so I just joined that club. And
were you doing it in the typical way of dad and lad going bike racing, or is it you on your own?
I'd started my apprenticeship at 16, left school at 16, did an apprenticeship, mechanical engineering stuff. And then at 19, I'd bought a 125 Aprilia with my apprenticeship money and crashed that and blown it up and fixed it, and bought an RVF 400 and crashed that and fixed it. And then took that race, literally did one track day and went and was going, I might do a few more track days and I fancy going racing. And a lad I was working with raced drag bikes, and he just went, if you want to go racing, mate, just go racing. If you don't do it now, you'll never do it. So literally the next year, put an entry form in, and April 4th day 2000, I'm on the grid. Not a clue what I'm doing. I've bought a van for 750 quid where the speedo doesn't work.
Clearly not superstitious. That was going to be my next question. April Fool's Day.
I mean, it's fairly apt today.
My God. But what made you keep going? Was it literally just enjoyment, or did you have a big ambition? Or
No, I just really like going fast on motorbikes.
But were you doing 16, so you would have had your CVT and stuff like that?
Yeah, well, I did I had a scooter at 16 to go to work on and mess around with mates. Then I had because I worked in an Italian bike shop.
Hence the hand actions.
Yeah, exactly. Yes,
they are. That's why it was so good.
Exactly.
Now we're slowly getting this out of him. This I grew up with Rossi. This is what it's going to be.
Yeah, it was an Italian bike shop run by Graziano Rossi. Unfortunately, no. It was run by a bloke called Phil, who was very much from Lincoln. Just literally went racing with the money from my apprenticeship and skinted myself, and then bought another bike and skinted myself a bit more, and so it begins. That system carried on for a while. Yeah.
So sorry.
Go. No, go. No, you've got the flow. You've got the flow. Oh, right. So
you go first.
So have you done all this up to the TT? Are you still a bike mechanic?
No. Oh no, I literally did Saturdays doing that. My apprenticeship was industrial gas turbines.
Hence the nice jacket. So I can see the money tree growing here.
Yeah. The year I went to TT is also the year I started working offshore.
Hence being able to do it.
Yeah, then all of a sudden I could fall motorbikes again.
How do you think I want to be a gas turbine engineer?
Luckily in Lincoln, if you want to work in engineering, there's a big gas turbine company.
Is there?
Yeah, it's literally the biggest employer in town. So it's now Siemens.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So but you're not involved in that anymore?
No. Last winter I went and did a couple of offshore jobs. Well, I did offshore UK for 10 days or something, and 3 weeks in the desert in Algeria. Which
Jesus.
The desert's cool. I like the desert.
Don't know. I think I'd rather be on a rig.
So what? Yeah, go on then. Explain why is it cool being in the middle of the desert?
Just the sunrises and the sunsets. It's as soppy and romantic as they sound. You will never see a better sunrise or a sunset than in the desert.
It's three dudes in a trailer talking about sunsets.
I feel like we should all be holding hands.
Yeah, we should. I'm just going to have another sip of beer.
Go and chop some wood, make yourself feel more masculine. I mean, I was working for the oil industry, and what I should have said was they pay you 10% extra for being on remote camp.
So it's worth that. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Was you doing that then while you were racing then?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and especially after a couple of years, I went contracting, so I'd just work. I basically from end of September till April, they could just use me and abuse me, get me on as many jobs as I can, and then I'll just have 6 months off and go racing.
Fucking hell. So to anyone young listening, get into gas turbine. Offshore.
Yeah. Get a trade. Sod this, actually learning anything at school. Get a trade.
Yeah. Get offshore.
Yeah. Get offshore, get in the oil industry.
Just do 6 months a year.
Yeah, the oil industry is ridiculous. Just, all the lies and all the money, it's just all great.
I bet the crack I bet the crack with the lads is mega as well, isn't it?
It's all right, yeah. I mean, weirdly, you go on some jobs and you'd be sat, I remember being sat in the Libyan desert and I'm the only Englishman there. So you got some, everybody speaks English in the oil industry because they've got to, near enough. And then, there's me, the Filipino guy who, runs the control room, and then a load of Libyan lads who really aren't interested in doing any work, but they've just been given a job. So it's if you want anything doing, you can get an expat to do it. And then the menial work is the Filipinos because they don't cost very much. And, if you want anything actually skilled, you get a Westerner to do it.
Right.
That's incredibly racist of me, isn't it? But
no, it's
fairly
fact.
accurate.
I'm sorry, no, but
if that's how the industry is,
it is what it is.
In fact,
it's not
you can't dress it up as anything, can you?
No, in fact, that I can remember this. I can't remember the name of the site, but it's literally right in the middle of the Sahara Desert in Libya. And
class. No, it is class. I'm sorry, but I personally never been in the desert in Libya.
I think all of that shit's cool because that's all.
It's completely random. So I'm out there, and this site's massive. It goes for miles and miles and miles across the desert. They've got oil wells here, there, and everywhere, and all this processing stuff. And it's been there since the 70s. So all the equipment's old, so it keeps you busy. But it's quite cool. They give you a Jeep to drive around in it. Well, it's a Land Cruiser because it's Toyota and it keeps running forever. But it's just an odd place to be. And I get talking to this guy from Petro-Canada who owned half of it, and I went, there seems to be a lot of people not doing very much. And he went, but in Libya, you have to employ 90% of your workforce has got to be Libyan. It's good for the economy and it's good for the Libyans. It gives them jobs. He said, we actually only need 50 people to run the site, but we've got 450 people here. So that everybody who's basically, for every one person we need to actually do a job, they've got to employ 9 people to pretend to do the same job.
Well, I suppose the right industry to have the budget to do it.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's literally coming out of the ground. Yeah, drill a hole in the ground, mate. Free money.
Yeah.
So, what age were you at this point? On your first in the Sahara
26. 26, 27, yeah.
So, at this point, you're just working, and then you've got 6 months coming off.
Yeah.
So, all on your mind is just going racing at this point.
Yeah. I mean, when I started contracting, I was 30. Yeah, I think I was 30 by the time I started contracting. So I was employed doing that for a bit. So you couldn't say no. And then you go contracting and they phone. The difference then was you went from going in and having a phone call from the office going, we need you to go to offshore Libya or wherever, crap Blackistan or down some hellhole. And then you change jobs. And actually, I changed jobs because I went offshore Libya. And while I was out there, they went, you don't fancy a job, do you? Because our last turbine guy had a massive heart attack and died.
I'm your man.
Yeah, no working conditions or anything.
Yeah. And the weirdness is, I'd literally chop it out to this platform, landed on the platform, and it's in the middle of the Mediterranean. The platform was 3 or 4 year old, so everything's new and everything works. And half the crew are expats, so it's Americans and Brits. I was like, this isn't a bad job. As long as you like chicken and rice for dinner, you're all right. And they don't have gravy, so it's fine. So I go out there on a service job, and they offer me a job while I'm there. And you go, well, I might be interested. And it's 3 weeks on, 3 weeks off, so it's reasonable shifts. And I went, well, how much? And then they offer you 50% more than you're getting working for the old mobs. And you're like, yeah, I'll be there in a couple of weeks, mate. Yeah. So I left Siemens, and 4 days after I left Siemens, I crashed at the Ulster Grand Prix and broke my back.
Of course, we're in the screwed back club because I've
we are.
Screwed back club.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
because it was we were with Isla, weren't we?
Yeah, the physios tend to TT.
Played in a bed next to each other, weren't we? To get
holding
treatment.
Yeah.
Both looking like...
I thought you two glazed over when you looked at each other again when you turned up in the studio.
It's awkward because we're both clothed now.
Yeah, exactly.
We saw each other.
Well, actually,
clothed.
I remember that.
Dominic, why'd you have to bring it up?
The last time I remember that was, I think it was after the senior that year, and I went in and I think you were recovering from broken legs and all sorts. And we go in the physios, and I'm just thinking, it's after the senior. You don't really need treatment, but I'm going, I'm a little bit tight on my shoulders and stuff. I'm just nipping to see the girls. And they do a mega job. So I've got two of the girls sorted me out. This sounds so much cooler than it really
This sounds like one of the cow stories before we even pressed record.
When Grace edits it, it'll sound so much worse. Like, we'll make this really bad. Don't you worry about that. Your career will be right down the toilet. Don't you worry about that.
So I remember being in the physio thing, and I've got all the girls like doing my shoulders or whatever, and one of the others doing my legs or whatever, and I'm going, oh, this is lovely and relaxing. I'm really pleased I popped in here. And Joe's on the next bench, and because he's got so many injuries, he's like, and they're literally like snapping his bones straight for him, and the sheer look of pain on his face, and he looks over at me having this really nice soothing massage with these two girls, and he goes, what's happened here? And what's happened here is bribery, because I always turn up, and I always used to turn up with some homemade flapjack and bribe the physios.
Yeah, I missed that one.
Yeah, there you are. That's a top tip from Dave there for the TT. Like, I tell you what, while we're talking about that subject, like, I'm not sure, are they actually getting any government support anymore?
I'm not sure.
They never did. Like, it was a full... It was a full system that was volunteers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was a free service that they provided. It was their own time, their own costs, and everything like that. Now, imagine now going to the TT without that physio support there.
Oh, especially with the amount of mileage you're doing now.
Yeah.
You'd be ruined, wouldn't you?
It'd be terrifying, wouldn't it? Because it is your... It's not your safety blanket, it's your peace of mind, isn't it?
Well,
it's your peace of mind.
And you do, like...
I used to go there to go there as... sometimes it's just nice. It's your kind of your getaway place as well.
Yeah,
and so, go in there and
pet the dog and
Isla's dog. You beat me to it. Isla's therapy dog. I can't remember her name.
Is it Jess?
Might be.
Can't remember.
I just remember.
Well, we're never getting any physio from us lot now because we've all forgotten.
Can't remember the dog's name.
We'll let that in.
But you could.
No,
is it not Tess?
You're just thinking of old black and white.
Where's the black and white dog, isn't it?
Any sheepdogs he's thinking of, any collie names. Yeah.
He's going through the film.
But yeah, that was like I always, for me it was like they go in there and you have a sit and get the dog and you just chill out.
Yeah, and it's like because I'm tall, it was with me. It was always my neck. It's like I never struggled with my hands because I didn't hold on very tight.
It's always my legs.
I got it on the 600 or on 600. It used to be my legs a little bit, but on a big bike it was always my neck.
So I never had bother. It's interesting, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
But even going back to it, I think it's genuinely a safety issue not having that support there.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
You know, because the thing is that support's been there since. Oh, now I'm clutching at straws, but I think it's got to be 15, 16.
I think it might have been there. I think there was something before that, but then it became a bit bigger and a bit more official.
Yeah, but
the problem with the job's moved on, hasn't it? We're 10. If let's take 2015 as the year that
the year it started. We'll roughly
put it in place. You think how horsepower and technology in the bikes and the speeds has changed in 10 years?
Well,
you're going to get the old boys, that have been doing it a while, that are going to go, well, I don't fucking... And, I can think of 10 people straight away, they go, I don't fucking go in there, I don't need that.
Yeah, because I'll just have a pint and be done with it.
Yeah, and it'll be grand. But...
Yeah. I think
they're the rare few, aren't they?
Yeah.
Really.
I think the difference now is, I remember when I started, there was a lot more of the old boys, like, the lads who've been doing it for years who... That's what they did every year. They didn't really go racing anywhere else. They just went to TT, which I completely understand. And it was
and Anstey and Archibald.
But especially the second half of the grid, there was quite a lot of lads who were just turning up and just doing that. And you go, when you look at timesheets or result sheets, you go, oh, I was doing that lap time and it put me 21st.
Yeah.
It's like, if I was that percentage off the leaders now, you're 48th.
Yes.
And you go, I think what's happened is the lads at the front have always been fast, haven't they? We all know that. But I think what's happened is the depth of field has got better. So I think there's more... Because of that, you've got more lads who are used to... Well, basically, they're closer to being athletes. So whereas the front boys would have probably had some physio or somebody sorting them out,
someone there.
Now everybody needs it.
Yeah. I tell you what, I read ages, it was like a year ago, and it's still right, and it's only building momentum. There's no room for amateurs in sport anymore. No, you think about Sunday League football for young'uns. They've all got therapists, they've got psychological support, they've got all, you know what I mean, the coach and the facilities, the after training, the information, the logic is there from all of us, in any sport, in any discipline, that it's just elevating. But now the cost of money to go racing, period, especially in our sport, being a motor division, you can't...
Well,
you can't not be fast.
I think it's not that there's no room for amateurs. There's no room for an amateur approach anymore.
Yes,
That's the difference. You've got to have a professional approach to everything, because if you want to be competitive, the professionals are now
and because
taking things so much further with
and the majority of sport, like especially our sport, because I don't really know anything about Sunday League football, but you take our sport, it's like when I started, an entry for a weekend at Lydden Hill was 90 quid.
Yes. Yeah.
And you could buy a set of tyres off the lad who had some money. They've done a meeting, you put them on your bike and get 2 more meetings out. So you go.
And they were 120 quid for a set of scrubs.
Yeah, well, 40 or 50 quid probably for a set of scrubs when I started.
Right.
Back in the day, it was shillings and like shiny stones or something. So,
you and Plater talking in threepence.
yeah, exactly, yeah. Ooh. Yeah. And I put them on my spoke wheels myself, and not that bad. There you go. You could go racing with a brickie's wage or an apprentice's wage or whatever, and you could actually go racing and be relatively competitive.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I remember there was a point where I walked around the paddock and there was somebody with a brand new transit van. And I was like, look at that.
That's factory.
He's got some kit. Because only 1 in 3 people had a caravan. It's like most people were in the vans or kipping in. I remember kipping in pit garages.
Yeah.
And you go, and now you go racing and you're like, everybody's got a motorhome or a caravan or something. And they've all got, because the entry fees have gone up, like an apprentice can't afford it anymore. No. So then that elevates the level, because if you want to go racing, the lads who, like, they can't afford it. So therefore the people who can afford it can then also afford to have the next thing.
Yeah. The mini bike job was the same. Like I grew up doing mini bikes, and that was you went to home base and you bought one of those Black and Decker Workmate benches.
Yeah.
That's what you put your bike on.
Yeah.
And you had no tyre warms. If you wanted to warm the tyre up, you did it spin the rear wheel to do a bit of a burnout, and that was it. And everybody was there in a van.
Yeah.
And some caravans, tents, and all the rest of it.
We used to buy Argos gazebos for 15
Argos
quid.
gazebos, yeah. Just pop up gazebos.
No sides or anything. Just
you were a flash bastard if you got one of them, mind.
15 quid, yeah. 15 quid, you got the season out of it. If you were lucky, you got the season out of it. I watched one of mine.
There was no wind.
Yeah, well, the last time I saw one of mine, it was going over the trees at the back of the paddock at Brands onto the M20. It was like, ooh. If I hear screeching noises in a minute, I'm just getting in the van and driving off.
And that's why you don't write your name on your order, kids.
Exactly, yeah. Just make sure you've got one the same as everybody else's.
Yeah, obsessing engineering. Oh, shit. I don't know who that belongs to. We'll Google them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I went back to a mini bike event. They've all got tyre warmers. They've all got fun mover slide outs. And it's like, Jesus
what's gone
Christ,
on
what happened here?
Yeah.
But now
the entry fees went high, and that got rid of all the people who didn't have any money.
Mad.
But even people like Moto 3 level, you know, like the front runners are going off to Spain. You know, it's December now, and the amount of people that are going out now, like training and everything, it's no longer.
Yeah, no. Everyone used to just drain the radiators down, didn't they?
Yeah.
Put the bikes in the garage, put a sheet over them, and then
Believe in
maybe
Santa,
think about
have
it
Christmas.
in March.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's we've got to go pre-season now.
But you can see my point though. Even from that such young age, you can't even half-arse it. Then
What age were you with your first TT then?
26.
Do you think that was a good age to be doing it, or do you think you don't think? What do you think's too young? What's your opinion of too young?
It varies a bit, because I can remember the Heather out of the office at the Manx Grand Prix phoned me up a few years ago, because I'm from Lincolnshire, and she got an entry off James Irons.
Yeah,
Jim Irons. I don't know Jim that well, but Chris Barrett, who used to loan me a 250, is really good mates with his dad, and so I've met him a couple of times. His head's really screwed, like real sensible lad.
Have you met Jim Hyde?
He took me out at turn 1 at Scarborough once.
So he's really sensible lad.
I tell you what though, I can't believe I'm saying this, but he's the modern day Bruce Anstey.
Yeah.
So quiet.
Yeah,
so unassuming.
Yeah, he's not interested. He just wants to ride his bike.
But he just even, you know, he doesn't even borderline. He doesn't get hyped up.
Yeah.
Just wants to get on his bike. But then when he's
really
on the
fast.
But when he's on the bike, he'll knock Joe Ackroyd off without even thinking about it.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand why. Yeah.
No, but what a
Cheers, Dave.
I mean, me and Chrissy nearly actually got him onto the show, and he just went, "No, I actually don't want to do it." Fair enough. You know, we've only held you at gunpoint. You're the only one we've actually had to force to come on the show.
Yeah,
you know, it's been great. But
I made you drive all the way down here in the depths of winter.
That's all good, man. No, but Jim Hine, go back to the story. Yes.
So like they'd phone me up to see what I thought to like his character and see if he'd be sensible enough, because he was 18 when he put his entry in. And I think, well, he is sensible enough at 18, but most of the other 18-year-olds I know are complete idiots. So you go, I wouldn't send half of them out, because they're just...
It is a very individual basis.
Yeah, so it's like, I think there isn't I don't think you can put a rule in place that says he's too young. It's like once you're technically an adult, like you can do what you want. But there's just got to be that sensible thing of, yeah, he's a bit loose. Like we'll let him go off and do something else first.
Do a
and
bit of maturing.
settle in a bit.
So, like, even going back to your first newcomers, you know, you had a hell of a list of a lot of hungry riders there.
Put it this way, I didn't get much copy in the local press.
Steve Plater, come on, there you go.
Steve Plater and Gary Johnson. There were literally. I got and Dave Hewson turned up. Yeah, just,
At least you got to mention, mate.
yeah, well, exactly. Yeah.
There you
yeah.
go. You can't knock
Small,
that.
small
No,
victories and all that.
Helen, my old press lady. I had a press woman. I was, from
That rig money, you see.
Exactly,
It's that rig money. I'm going to get a press woman.
I had
Yeah.
an agent.
yeah.
All right, Dan,
Helen,
well
she's
done
lovely.
still.
She's from Sleaford, and like really into it, but she also looked after Plater and that as well. So when we all went to TT, it was literally she's like, I think she felt obliged to write something about me in the bottom of the
good on her.
article. So, yeah.
But I tell you what, before we talk about, like, and this is a question I keep meaning to ask, how do we get more people doing the TT and roads? But before we do that, like, what took you from stock 1,000 into going in the road racing?
A
And then
couple of-
ultimately sharing a bed with Joe Ackroyd of the Ulster. Like, you know,
Well, yeah.
Good time. That was a wink for our,
it was,
our
yeah.
The
audio
little wing
listeners.
Yeah.
immediately made him look down. That was my dominance.
yeah. Yeah. I looked down, made sure definitely not hard.
Hardish.
Yeah.
So go for it, mate.
Throwing him now, haven't I?
No, but you've gone from, like, got a job.
Yeah.
You know, you've got a secure job as well. Would that
Sensible.
be a sensible, secure job? I would say. Is that a fair comment financially?
all right, yeah.
Yeah, but
Secure. You're not.
You're a sensible 26-year-old. You've got yourself a decent job.
Yeah.
You're on the right track with everything in life. You're probably doing better
Yeah.
than a lot of 26-year-olds at the
Yeah.
same time.
Yeah. Making reasonable money and wanting to.
And you've
The
gone, I wanna
TT
go
was
to
an
TT.
oddity. Like the TT was actually a bit strange because I know a lot of people like Jim Iron. He's gone there since he was a nipper with his dad and with Chris, and so all he's wanted to do when he goes racing is go to the Isle of Man. When I started, the Isle of Man wasn't really on my radar. Like, I knew about it, and you know all the bad stuff that's in the press.
You were quite. Is that a fair comment to say, Joe? You're quite similar. TT wasn't always on your radar, or was it?
I would say it probably wasn't on. No, it's not. It wasn't on my radar, but my
Yeah.
grandparents lived in Kirkmichael growing
Right,
up.
yeah.
So I actually put on my Instagram story, I'm trying to be a bit more active on it.
Yeah.
That I'd found a picture of me sat on the fueling stands
Oh, yeah.
in 1994. I was 5 years old, and we'd been
6'2".
Yeah.
and I'd been 89 the year
Full
I was
moustache.
born. 89 right through till probably 90.
So TT wasn't on his radar apart from he grew up there.
No, it's
Yeah, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
When I went racing, it wasn't in my head to go like you. I just want to go and race.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
actually, my dad said to me, "I'll support it right up until the point that you want to go and do the TT. I can't be involved in that."
Yeah.
And he,
Whereas the
he
other-
bailed earlier than that, to be fair. But
Yeah, because like when I went racing, it's like I went racing. I sort of remember announcing that I was going to buy a van and go motorbike racing. My parents sort of looked at me and looked at each other and shook their heads a bit. And I was the youngest, so I could get away with doing stuff.
How many siblings?
Two older brothers.
Ah,
So it's like, you get to the third
disappointment's fully in their bloodstream
Well, they're used
by
to
the
it
two
now,
older
aren't
brothers
they?
at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. Or they think these two have done all right. We can afford to lose that one.
The family name will
that one's
continue.
always been a
Exactly,
favourite.
yeah.
The Hewson Italian name will continue.
Cusione.
So yeah.
Yeah, so
But at 19, when you said you was going to go racing, the
you've
past minute, I tell you what, they can't.
Well, I
Can't
think
enforce anything, can they?
no, and I think like at 19, the idea of I just want to go and do a club race and see if I'm any good, which we found out I wasn't, but that's a different story. But like the TT's this great big like beast of a thing that you go, well, I couldn't do that because that's a whole different game. And so you go, well, no, like it's almost you're just not interested. And you meet the odd person who's gone or whatever, and it's not really on your list. And then a bloke down my road, he was actually my driving instructor, used to do the Manx on classic bikes, had a little 250 Ducati and stuff. And I think it was must have been 2005. I was doing stock, and I was like, I'm gonna just go and nip over. I'm gonna ride my road bike over, finish the Cadwell round on the bank holiday Monday, rode it over to the Manx. Like Tuesday morning, got off the boat. It's raining. I'm on a ZXR 750 on scrub race tyres, and I don't even know where the paddock is. I have got no idea. So I get lost at anything like Laxey and then go all the way back down the coast road. It's like, you wouldn't think you could miss the paddock, would you? But if you just get off the ferry, turn right, just keep, everybody says, you get off the ferry, turn right. And I did. And I nearly did a bloody lap of the island.
and for people that don't know, there is actually a left.
Yeah,
exactly, yeah.
Just for, as European listeners that want to find out, don't do Dave, just halfway down, go left, then you can't.
But the thing is, it's like, because it's the Isle of Man, nobody signposts where anything is, because why would you need to? Everybody knows where they're going, apart from me. So I get off and I literally spent like 3 or 4 days just getting rained on, being a bit miserable and just going, and I'd done a lap in his van with him. We're doing a lap in this transit van, and I'm like, and he's talking through it, and of course he's on a 250 single decay, so he like comes out of Glen Ellen. He's like, comes out of Glen Ellen, and he goes, "Oh, you're flat out here," and he doesn't shut off until Ramsey Airpin or something. It's ridiculous. And of course you're riding along in the van going, "This is just bonkers." Like, how on earth do you learn it? And like, he hasn't shut off for 14 mile, and just.
You were at this point. You were doing a bit of a recce with the intention of going.
No,
or you were
I just went over to have a look. I just like
you wanted to see what it was all about.
Well, there's probably a little bit in my head where I was going, oh, maybe I'm a bit interested because the history of it and this and that.
You got on a boat and you went for it. So I hear what you're saying, Joe. I hear what you're saying.
And to be fair, I'd been at a wedding. A mate's lad who raced. Been at his wedding. And the girl I was sat on the table with, I was sitting there like, she was like, "Oh, can be really smooth. I race motorbikes." And her instant reply was, "Do you race the TT?" And it's like, well,
I'll correct this.
Yeah. So actually,
give me a year, I'll be back.
I literally can't remember anything about her apart from she was quite attractive and brunette.
So you went to the TT to try and pick up chicks.
Can I just stop you there? Can I
the irony is, if you bottle down the actual psychology of it, that is probably actually the reason. But obviously, if my girlfriend's listening,
let me just shake your hand. That is the most noble cause.
Yeah. Thing is,
Can we just stop the episode there? We can't peak from that. Is brilliant.
Yeah.
Why did you start racing to pick up chicks? That is the most dudeish answer.
I think it was more the put down from a girl. Literally, the first thing she said to me, "Have you raced a TT?" And you go, "No, I haven't. No." Just very
imagine your life.
Sorry, I've wasted your time. Yeah. So but the first year I went, I basically got rained on, couldn't get my head around the size of the circuit and stuff, and went home and just said to my mate, I went, "Nah, I'm not interested.
I'm in the
not
blondes.
doing that. I'm just." Yeah. And if my girlfriend's listening, definitely into blondes. Yeah. And but then there's something niggled to back of your head, doesn't it? You just like
it just puts a little seed in you, and it just
and it's weirdly it's like the history and the legend of it and all the rest of these words that we probably overuse. And so the next year, I was like, well, I suppose I could just go and have another look. So you book the ferry again, and you jump on your road bike again, and this time it's sunny.
Yeah.
And I've been around and done a couple of laps on my bike, and it was. I was about to head for the ferry and did that thing where I was like, oh, I've got just enough time to do one last lap before the ferry. And it's the evening, and it's August. And I remember getting on to the mountain and going, there's not really any traffic, and the sun's just coming down, and it's absolutely lovely. And by this point, you've realised there's no hairpins, and there's nothing that really jumps at it over the mountain because you can see most of it. And I was like, had this really good, quick ride over the mountain. And as I was rolling down towards the crag, just had that moment where I was like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah.
It's like, the job's bollocks, didn't it? Just yeah, and I got home.
That was 06.
Yeah, well, I got home, and then last round of the year, BSB was Brands Hatch. And Milky was walking around the paddock, and I've met him before because his missus used to live not far from Lincoln.
Right.
So weirdly,
there's something in the water in Lincoln, isn't it? There's a lot of people from here go racing.
Yeah, really. Lydia was... years ago lived Lincoln. So Milky was in Lincoln. I met him in a bike shop talking about something completely different. Completely fluked it. But he was walking around the paddock and I go, oh, hello, how are you doing sort of thing. I went, I'm toying with going to race the Isle of Man. Do I do Manx or TT? And of course he's the TT ambassador, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's gone to Brands Hatch to sign riders up. It's like, come to TT. Less riders, more professional, it's faster, you get, entries are free, we chuck you a bit of money for your ferry, this, that, and that. You go, you're all right then.
Yeah.
And then you email Paul Phillips, and then you get this email sat in the test bay back at Siemens, watching a turbine run, bored out my skull, flicked on for my emails, and there's an email from Paul Phillips like, we'd love to have you along, we'll send you some onboard DVDs and stuff to watch, and if you want to come over and do some trips, we'll look after you. And he used to like doing Superstock where literally nobody cares if you're there or not. And you have this moment where you go, these people actually wanted to turn up.
Yeah.
And it's the TT, and they've just said I can go, and oh crap.
And do you spend some time with Milky? Because I was lucky enough for Milky to spend time.
Not that long actually. The only lap I did with him was when we got there just before the racing, and I was sat in the back of a car with Plater, Jimmy Moore, the American, Keith and Moore, me. It's like they're looking at me going, "Who's this loser?" It's like he hasn't won a national championship here. And it's like, don't mind
I'm
me.
Italian.
Yeah. I once got overtaken by Riccardo Ballerini. So.
Sit down, Keith.
Yeah.
You haggis chucking son of a.
Yeah. And the next thing you know, you're turning up at TT, aren't you?
Do you regret not doing the Manx?
No, I'm a TT racer.
There we are.
Easy as that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And weirdness is, over all the years of going back to classic TT and stuff, it was only the last time I did what would have been the classic, the first year they rebranded the Manx Grand Prix. That's the only time I actually raced the Manx Grand Prix.
Right.
And I've done 24,000 miles around the Isle of Man on closed roads and only done the Manx Grand
Was that
Prix
a guess? Or
No,
have you actually worked out?
I've got an Excel sheet.
You do seem like the
You
kind of
look
guy
like an
who would
Exceller,
have
like
an
you.
Excel. Stats. I like my stats.
Yes.
You do like stat.
Yeah.
stat
In the
man.
great words of Chris around
Yeah.
on a spreadsheet.
Oh, yeah.
How many stats did you?
24,000 What other stats you got?
Yeah, go on. How many stats in 20 to do 24,000 miles? 60 odd? 70 odd?
66 starts
66
at
stats.
TT.
How many finishes?
50. Well, I thought I worked out at 57, but when I did the TT Plus podcast, they said it was
No one
58.
listens to that, so don't worry about
No, exactly. Yeah,
Fair
yeah, 57 or 58, depending on who you listen to.
it. What would you like people to know?
Oh, we'll go 58.
There we are. It's 58 then, don't
Yeah.
worry.
125 actually. Yeah.
And what was your last year? When did you? What?
23.
23 was your last year, right?
If you don't mind me asking, why was it your last year?
There've been a few little bits that niggle. You know, you get older and you get less competitive because you can't afford to go racing as much. And there was a little bit in my head of, I don't want to be the guy who gets lapped. Like, I don't really want to be the guy at the back because if you're not actually competitive, you probably shouldn't be there. It's like you're not actually going there. Like, it is a motorbike race. And if plenty of guys have gone and just ridden round, and you go, I don't think that's what it's for. So I only want to go if I'm competitive. So there was a little niggle in the back of my head, but then the flip side of that is it's the TT. Why wouldn't you want to go and do it? Because it's the best place in the world to ride a motorbike. And I was out on the Super Twin, first twin race 23, and Raul Torres crashed.
At Bishop's Court.
Yeah, and I might have been the first bike through. Because I remember going flat through Alpine, and there's nothing in front of you, the sun's setting because it's evening race, and then there's just smoke and stuff, and you just go, oh, this hasn't gone well. And you hit the
flags
brakes.
out?
They were running towards the crash,
Right.
and so they hadn't got the flags out. And I remember swerving through it on the brakes, avoiding
That's tight.
him and the bike on fire and stuff, and you just, literally by the time I got to Balaf Bridge, I had the switch had flicked, and it was like, no.
I don't need to do this again.
Yeah, and it's like, absolutely love going racing, but I'd got to the point where I was going there because I loved riding around it.
Had you got on the boat that year with this might be the last one I do, or was it?
I've got a goal.
Or was it a different mindset?
No.
I'm going to see how it goes. It's changed from.
It's always that thing of you always want to better your own performance.
Yes.
Because I knew I wasn't going to win, but if I could go faster than I'd gone before, that's what you're striving for. And I was thinking, I reckon I can run top 15 on the twin, and I can be in the mix with this and that. And you set yourself a different target or whatever, almost to justify it.
Yeah.
So you got on the boat with a bite.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? You got on a boat with a bite.
yeah. I'm still gonna go out there, and I'm still gonna try and go as fast as I can.
Because you do talk to some people and they go, I'd said to myself when I came out here, it was going to be my last one. And
you
they
just
say
like,
things
oh,
like
no.
this and you think, fucking hell.
Oh, no, no. If you think it's your last one, don't
It's already been the last
don't
one.
get the
if you're
bike out of the
thinking
van.
that. Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah.
No, I went, and it's like,
It was just the same
there
as
was
any
like,
other year.
it's the thing over winter when you're spending a load of money getting bikes ready, getting stuff prepped, doing all the stuff that's in the background that people don't really see. And it's all the stress of it, isn't it? It's like we've all been there, and you're going out there, and you're going, because you know what can go wrong. Everybody does, it won't happen to me, and you go, can now, can't it? And just
the stats aren't good, are they? When you you put them to your chances in 100, you wouldn't do it with a fucking gun, would you?
No.
Was there a time where you didn't think like that? You know, when you first
probably,
went?
yeah. I think I was always aware of what could happen. But,
I think that's not.
But as you get older, you're less willing. I think to me, as I got older, it was what you got back from it, because you'd done it 66 times. What you were getting back was getting smaller, but the realization of what you could lose was getting bigger. So it was like the trade-off between the two. When you're 26, it's like, it doesn't matter if I kill myself. My mum will miss me, but it doesn't really matter. I'm putting my name in history books. Whereas by the end, it's like, I'd really miss the stuff you've like. And you love doing it.
I think as well.
But it's the trade. For me, the trade-off had just got to the point where it's like, I love doing it, and especially on the twin in that race, I can remember riding around thinking, I love this. It's like because you just fly everywhere and they're easy to ride, and you're going, this is the best thing ever. And then there's a dude dead in the road, and you go, this is the best thing ever, but it's not worth that. Not to me, not today. And you go,
talk us through. So the rest of that lap, you were.
Did you pull in?
I don't want to.
No, I kept going. I had that weirdness, and this is the motorbike racer thing. That if you've not done competitive sport, you probably don't get it. I got to Ballaugh Bridge, and I'm actually crying in my helmet. And I can remember going, no, we're going to finish the race. Because it was the point of you either pull over there, and it's last lap, or either pull over, or we keep going. And I went, no, I started the race, I'm going to finish this one. And then that'll do. And I got my head down, and in my head, I was hitting all my markers and I was going fast. But then you realise later, you're not actually going that fast. It's like, because the bit in your head's going, no. So, finished the race, did all right. I think technically it's actually my best TT finish, ironically, because it was the twins. And the competition isn't quite as deep there, and I had a fast bike.
You did do the senior though, didn't you?
No,
that twin race was your last race.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
I thought I'd listened on Manx Radio and you'd come into the pits for a pit stop and you retired.
No,
because you waved to the crowd.
No, Rennie Skaysbrook, American lad. He should have been riding the Wilson Craig bikes, which are literally junk. And the team had packed in halfway through the week, and Rennie had just gone there. I'm not riding that. It's literally you may as well undo the wheel nuts yourself and wait for them to fall off. They're just terrible. And so I'd known him because roundabout thing. I'd gone to Pikes Peak with Eric, and we'd met him there. Yeah, random stories. And so we sort of knew him in passing, and I got chatting to him a bit, and they knew that there was bits floating around here and there. And basically Rich Wilson's had a bike that had an engine that was actually one of my engines, and it all got swapped. But people borrowed this, that, and the other.
That's the Wiz Norton team, isn't it?
Yeah. And so he ended up riding their bike, and I ended up in the pit crew, and his gear lever fell off, and I was trying to refit it in the pit lane.
Right, okay.
Yeah, weird thing of I was probably the most I've been talked about in a senior race ever, and I wasn't on a motorbike.
It's funny, isn't it, how the switch flips, and that was it. It was as black and white as that.
Yeah. And the irony is, of course, I sit there now and literally every day go, I could just go back and I could just race it and just.
If you don't mind me asking, what? It's a very personal question, but what's stopping you just going back?
Yeah.
No. I'm sorry. I feel like I shouldn't have asked that, but I'm just more.
To be fair,
we're all raced.
Yeah.
It's.
Yeah. And the thing with me is, my thing for doing a TT the last few years, I loved riding around the place. Actually, not that bothered about the racing. When you're younger, I think the competitive spirit waned a little bit. And now, if I got the chance to just go and ride it, you'd go
in a closed course condition where you can just go and
just ignore the stopwatch. You can just go and have fun as fast as you want to go, sort of thing. And the thing is, you'd still go and try and do a lap time because we're racers, aren't we?
Does the classic not appeal to you then?
No, because I thought if I'm going to go and ride something around there, I want something that's least likely to leak oil. So,
but the mad thing is,
so if I was going back, I'd want to go back on the twin.
I was going to say about you, like a lot of the classic superbikes now are
they're
brand new,
and I've got
bikes, aren't they?
I've got one, and I've got a ZX 400 and stuff. But it just.
But I also respect that the fact that you've gone. Do you know what? No, I'm done with that. That little chapter's done,
and it's
a big chapter.
It's also the bad thing of we all know people who've done I'm going to just go back and like they retire for a year and then they go back, and it's like every now and again it goes wrong at that point, and you go, well, hang on, you've made the decision, and the thing is like you miss riding round, you miss the event, but I don't miss the stress and the hassle and all the bits that go with it, and you go.
So this was this winter, because I remember the first year when I said, because I decided I wasn't going to do it again at the end of going back into 2022.
Yeah.
And I remember immediately just that run up where I was talking to people.
Yeah.
And all they were doing is running around like headless chickens, stressed to fuck, not enjoying themselves. You were, you
100%.
It wasn't that you weren't enjoying yourself, but the stress was there. I spoke to Gaz before, before Gaz was going back before he did his leg. I didn't miss that. I thought.
No, I didn't miss that at all.
I do not miss that at all.
No, and luckily, because I went back this year and ran Julian Trummer rode me twin.
Right.
So I was there and I was in the paddock and I was involved. And I was really pleased that weather was crap for the whole fortnight. That really helped the job that did. It's like literally every time they cancel a session, you go, not stressed. Just push my bike back from scrutineering and put it back on the paddock stand. That helped. If it would been sunny first night, you'd have been knocking on Paul Phillips's door. So like, can you lay entry? Just sleep. I can fit in his leathers. It'd be fine. Nobody will know.
So moving on from the racing to you as a as a bike owner and running riders and all the rest of it, that's where you find yourself now then.
So you haven't really given up the TT. If you don't, I'm going to use Joe as a bit of an example there, because it's like Joe went, right, I'm going to put a line in that for now, you know what I mean, and go right, but then you didn't go back.
No, I didn't.
You know what I mean? But then, like Joe said, you've transitioned into that.
But I have said that I'd be half tempted to go back to the classic.
Yeah, I can see. Well, the classic's always a bit more.
I do.
The classic's more chilled, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's actually
that's the whole reason.
It's actually more fun.
Yes.
Because there's less pressure, because you don't like the lap times are like you can be a mile an hour slower and nobody really cares.
But it's more about the. It's about the bikes. It's about the putting on bit of a show, and there isn't the same pressure because chances are you're not going to own your own. I don't own a classic bike, so if I get the opportunity, it's because someone's got something sat there.
I haven't got any,
Dave. And so that pressure's halved straight away because it's not your bike. You've got to prep the bike, but you'd have to worry about riding it. And I don't have to worry about prepping it. I can just ride it. So that straight away,
it changes the dynamic.
Yeah. And that's that. But to going back to your point of, I have drawn a line in the TT, but the classic TT, I think, is still for me. It's like possible, definitely. Yeah. But it would have to be in those situations because of everything
where somebody else has to do all the hard work, and you just get to turn up and have the fun.
But some people enjoy that hard work. That's their therapeutic bit, isn't it? I love tinkering in the garage.
Yeah,
I love that bit.
But, to be fair, I have always enjoyed
we've seen your workshop here, and it's it's
fucking hell. Yeah, we've got some toys.
100%. Yeah, you set up well in there.
Yeah.
So that you obviously enjoy that side of it.
Yeah, and I've always built my own bikes, and a few years ago, the usual thing is you're always busy. Whatever racing you do, whatever life throws at you, you're always busy. Over the years, I've farmed stuff out, engines and this and that, and then inevitably something goes wrong, and you have that moment where you go, well, I may as well just build that myself.
Yeah.
And then a few years back, I had the moment where I was like, well, why don't I just do everything myself? So now I've got suspension tools and these tools and computers and all the rest. And it's like, literally, bring me a road bike and I can build you a good spec. Well, I could build you a superbike and I could run it for you and I could repair it. Literally every nut and bolt on it, forks, shocks, brakes, electronics. I'm not going to build you a wiring loom, that's about my line of it, but I can build everything. And so I've always enjoyed it, but I've always sort of enjoyed the next challenge. So
Yeah. Mega.
Was it more stressful putting a rider on a bike?
No.
Different stress?
No, you see, I wasn't so fussed because I always knew I'm I'm quite meticulous with me prep, and it's like it was almost I've built it to the space where I'd be happy to ride it.
Yeah, you were confident in your own.
Yeah,
abilities.
exactly. Yeah. So I know like the lads who span off me were generally petrified every time I went out, but like I'd always say to them like I tended to check certain stuff myself, and I said I'm not checking your work, but if something went wrong, I said it's in my head because I'm the one going down Bray Hill on it, and partly if something happened, the pressure's not on them anymore because I'd checked it.
We had a lot of people take that to heart though. You know, I've built my own bikes, I've raced my own bikes, everything like that. But then when you do that, it's like actually people don't realise you're taking the pressure off them. But a lot of people, well, I can do the job. It's like no, but I'm going to go off down Bray Hill. So and it's the next lap coming around, I'm doing 190 down it.
Yeah.
You know what? Just have the torque wrench. Click. That's all I want to hear.
We had a rule where they could strip, but I put back together. And I was happy for that. You can take fairings off, wheels out,
and the weirdness of it was, though, we ended up with a garage full of naked mechanics. Whole different shit.
Did I just fall asleep there? I've just woke
Joe
up.
got the joke.
All right,
but because you were confident in what you were doing, that's never been a...
No, it wasn't. It wasn't really a concern sort of thing. It was, I know it's right. I'll send it off down the road. Yeah.
But no,
sorry, go on.
No, go.
So that's TT, Ulster, Northwest.
Yeah.
Did you do Southern?
Never did the Southern. I did pre-TT Classics. I've ridden the course, but on a 250.
Have you just ruled out road racing or just the TT?
Just TT.
See, this is the interesting thing. You know, like when you're talking about like retirement and like talking about like.
Well, because I could be tempted to go and do the cane thing in the cane road race in Mexico because it's interesting, and like I've done a road race in Mexico before. We've done the San Pedro Hill Climb, which is cool, and they did the Baja International Tourist Cup, which is not far from the US border, and is
this is where the money's coming from.
Yeah. We haven't
not far from the US border.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that might be becoming a bit more difficult for you.
And you've got a really fast motorbike.
Yeah, some would say throwing distance.
Have you seen the size of them walls?
You've got long arms.
Yeah, I'm crap at throwing.
Yeah, you would say that.
Yeah, not bad at tunnelling. I've done it. Yeah, the Baja International Tourist Cup is bonkers. The circuit was, I can't remember, like 9 mile long or something like that, and it's literally jagged rocks and dusty and fast, and you're up this highway, and it's like the main road between. It's the equivalent of closing the A1 to do one section of it. So they close it for like 20 minutes. We do a practice session or something, and the traffic's queuing up for miles, and there's literally a dozen people on motorbikes just having the time of their life, going flat out, and then they'd open the road again to be beeping horns and signs and stuff, and we'd do all
loads of gunshots.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, duck. Yeah.
Oh look, there's Gravy Davey.
Yeah. Strange name. He doesn't even like the stuff. Yeah.
So disappointed.
Yeah. So going back to that story, it turned into Wavy Dave just because it rhymed. Yeah, that was shit.
Yeah, that was a terrible story.
It's a terrible story. It takes us an hour to get to it.
But that's why the podcast listeners really have to listen to the show.
Exactly. They've got to pay attention.
There's notes at the end that they have to
exactly. There will be a text.
Pikes Peak?
No.
Oh, but you went with the bike still running when you went?
Yeah, right.
Your partner in crime is Eric Wilson, isn't it?
Yeah. Eric.
Wilson part of the dentist crew?
No.
I think is that true that Wiz Norton are dentists?
Yes.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Richard's a dentist, isn't he?
Yeah, and his dad was dentist as well, I think.
I'll tell you what, Richard Wilson's one of the coolest people on the planet.
Oh yeah,
he's like an absolute gentleman.
No, I tell you, I'll never forget it as long as I live. Right,
he was my endurance teammate at Spa this year.
He was, but do you remember the year he went up with like a checkered top, like corded shorts, Crocs, and a cigarette with a proper tash with a backwards cap, and he went up to the awards ceremony. And
I don't remember that, but
I remember. I'll never forget that as long as I live, because obviously you go up, you got a presentation, you've got a nice shirt on, everyone's looking like in team gear.
And the irony is, he probably spends most of his life looking smart.
He's literally a doc, doing dentistry, and he literally just went, I am what I am. And he just went up with a pint and a cigarette and I just remember looking at that going, that's what I want. That's what I want to achieve. You know what I mean? But sorry, anyway, total side story. That's a carry on.
So Eric isn't related to these people.
No, let's skip that story then.
So, my general partner in crime, Eric, who I'm not quite I sort of lose track of how we sort of met. We'd started, or he'd done TT before me, and he was always sort of like present in the paddock, and so you bump into people here, there, and everywhere. And then I suppose it was really when I crashed at the Ulster. So I crashed at the Ulster, did me back, threw my bike into somebody's garden, and the bike ended up stuck over there for a few weeks, and then it got released, and so Eric had to. I basically did a deal with Eric, went and picked it up because he like popped to the hospital like, oh, do you need help? Because we're a little bit of matey sort of thing. And then when I was back home, he's like, I said, oh, I'm a bit cheeky, but any chance you could go and collect me bike and drop it off at Farquhar's? Because Farquhar's coming over for a Gold Cup at the end of the year at Scarborough. So I'd had a word with him, and he was going to bring the bike back over, and it's literally a wheelbarrow job. It's like you need 4 burly Irishmen to like drag it out of a van.
Fucking hell.
So Eric's picked
And
it
if
up.
anyone wants to describe Eric Wilson, he is an Irishman, but not burly.
No.
So he was going to take 4 friends with him.
Yeah, and it's like quite how he even got in his van. I have no idea. Yeah, so Eric like sorts the bikes out for me in bits, and then what year was that? Well, that was 2010, and then we got to know each other a bit, and then he basically had this world of bad luck where the year they actually started enforcing the homologation date was he'd bought an R1, and it was the first year they actually bothered enforcing the homologation.
Yeah,
policed it. And he bought this bike, the first time he bought a decent bike in years, because he's never got any money. And they turned around and told him he couldn't race it.
Fuck's sake.
And so he ended up missing that year. Did he miss that? Or did I? Yeah, I think he ended up missing that year. And then the next year, I said, well, oh yeah, then the next year, it used to be 5 years. The bike was 5 years from homologation date. And it used to be 5 years. So he sold this R1. And then the next year, I bought me an RSV4 because my ZX10 was going out of date. And then that winter, they changed it to 8 years. So all of a sudden, I've got 2 eligible bikes. So I turn around to Eric and go, well, do you want to ride me ZX10? You can just like rent it off me. And so he's like, oh yeah, that'd be great. And so Eric started riding me ZX10. He did 2 years on it, overtook me on it, which is a recurring theme of Eric borrows bikes off people and then overtakes them on it.
That bridge is going to eventually burn, isn't it?
Yeah.
That'll going to be expensive fucking tolls, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, the first week, in the end, a few years later, he actually bought my first BMW off me. And then we went to Anglesey and he overtook me on that as well.
Oh, brilliant.
So, so me and Eric just got to know each other real well. We basically turned into teammates at TT and stuff. And then I'm around his place over in Northern Ireland, and he goes, fancy doing Pikes Peak? Because he'd been over to help Rob Barber race there.
Yeah.
And he'd got a taste for it, and he's like, I quite fancy doing that. Do you want to come? I was like, do you want to come and mechanic for me? I'm like, I've never been to the States. I'm like, this would be really cool. I've travelled a lot, but never been to the States. I'm like, yeah, I'll come. That sounds really cool. He's like, yeah, but Eric's very practical with his money. So he goes, if I fly my bike to Denver, air freight it to Denver, get a hire car, a rental van, take it to Pikes Peak, like, you don't get much track time. You get like a couple of runs up each section on like the practice mornings. There's 3 practice mornings. You do a section of the course, but you never do a full run until race day. And on race day, you get 1 run. And you go,
That's it.
Yeah. Oh, it's crap. Yeah. It's really expensive. But it's really badly run. It's like the worst club meeting going. It's even worse than the Northwest. Oh, it's horrendous. But it's American, so they think they're doing a brilliant job. So Eric's like, I want to go.
He's Italian, he can see these things,
don't he? Yeah. So Eric decides he wants to go to Pikes Peak, and I go, yeah, I'll come with you. And then he goes, yeah, but it's really expensive per mile if I just ship my bike out there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ship my bike to New, because you have to go flat bars. It's flat bar bikes only. So we convert his S1000 double R into single R, like top yoke, nose cone, single R.
Off you go.
Done. Legal to the rules. Ish. Yeah. Close enough. They don't know what they're looking at anyway. It's not Harley Davidson. They don't know what it is. So.
And if you get him to talk, they ain't got to fucking...
Exactly, yeah. They're not going to kick him out, are they?
Activate full Northern Irish.
Yeah. And I'll speak posh like, and they'll go, oh, very good. And
speak to my English counterpart.
Yes, speak to my man. And so he goes, oh, instead of just shipping my bike to Denver, I'm gonna ship my bike to New York and ride it to Colorado Springs, which is 2,250 miles. And I went, I've always had this thing about riding coast to coast across America. So this is a great idea. I'll fly in and just rent a bike, and the two of us, and it's my mate Alan's going to come as well. It's like, oh, cracking, we'll just road trip it across. So we spend like a week riding from New York to Colorado Springs. But then the deal is Eric, because he's got to justify it to Sandra, his lovely wife. So he's got to justify it to Sandra. So they're having a family holiday. They're flying out the day after race day, and he's going to have a family holiday. He went, well, I'll just take the race bike then and ride it to San Francisco. So the bike's done coast to coast, because I want to go coast to coast. It's like, this is great. And literally, we've decided this in about 3 minutes. Because why? Just details don't matter at this point, do they? So no. I sit on an offshore job and basically do the route planning and stuff while I'm getting paid 12 hours a day. Eric bolts a headlight on his bike, and we just rock up. Me, him, and his mate Alan. We do Pikes Peak, and so I have ridden Pikes Peak, but with it open to the traffic, and I was on a Harley Davidson because it's literally the only thing you can rent in America.
Is that right?
Oh, terrible! I mean, you've ridden a lot of bikes, Joe.
Yeah.
Trash.
Dirt.
Literally junk.
Just dirt.
Yeah.
That's all of America offended, right? So that's Italy and America that we've done.
Yeah, we've done so far. Trust me, I could offend loads of countries.
Do you know when you went New York to Colorado?
Yeah.
You didn't just do freeways, did you?
Oh no. And when we looked at certain stuff, and Eric had a couple of places he wanted to do. He wanted to go to Philadelphia to stand on the steps from Rocky.
Maggot.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
And I looked at it and went, we can go past Gettysburg and we can do this Lincoln Highway. We can do a few other random places on the road and St. Louis for the Arch. And so we had this somewhat convoluted route over.
And kids, this is the second bit of advice Uncle Joe's going to give you now. So get an offshore job and don't have kids. Okay.
Yeah.
See how happy Dave is?
Yeah, it's great, yeah. So...
Sorry, carry on, Dave.
Sorry, Joe.
Because I'm just sat there thinking, fuck, I'd love to do that. Oh,
yeah, it's great. Yeah,
2 massive handbrakes at home.
No. What you do is you just say to your missus, you go, I'm just nipping out for milk, and then just reappear a month later with a tan and some sort of infection,
and a smile.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and a big smile.
Yeah.
And the only thing she'll be upset about is the smile.
Yeah, the milk's gone off.
Yeah. I was to say, I'd get asked where the fucking milk was.
Yeah. So I did coast to coast. It was, in fact, weirdly, because this story goes downhill quite literally. The only thing I've said to Eric, the only instruction he's got is do not throw your motorbike off the side of a mountain. So what does Eric do? I'll let you guess.
Whiskey throttles, off it goes.
Right, the top section of Pikes Peak, they normally resurf it, go and patch it over winter because it gets really broken up with the snow and the tarmac all moves, which is why they didn't tarmac it until 15 years ago or something. It used to just be dirt at the top. So they tarmacked it, but the tarmac's crap and it all moved. But they're building a new visitor centre the year we go, so they've got every lorry's going up and down. There's no point resurfacing it because the lorries will knacker it. So the tarmac is ruined, and it's it's like motocrossed in places. It's so rough. It makes Tandragee look smooth. So they did the hour early morning practice on the top section, and practice starts at 5 a.m. as soon as first light comes up, so that practice is finished for 8 o'clock in the morning, so they can open the toll road and get all the toll road customers in and not lose any money.
So then you do nothing for the rest of the day.
Oh yeah, you can just go back home and sleep. Get the bike ready. I said it was badly organised. Yeah. So you couldn't just open it up in the morning, let tourists in to spectate it, and then run an all-day practice, could you? No. Why do that?
Yeah, make a few quid off the back of the tourism. Yeah.
Yeah. No, we're not doing that. So we go up there. It's 5 o'clock in the morning, and it's 4 or 5 degrees because we're at the top of the mountain. We're 13,000 foot, where the staging area is for the top section. So it goes and does his first one, and they set them off individually, the bikes, and 30 bikes, whatever. So it gets to the top, and then you have to wait at the top for the last bike to get up, and then they escort all of you back down, and then Eric's quite a long way down the order because he's newcomer. So he's gone up last, but he comes back down, and he's got to go near enough straight away. We literally turn him round, and he's second bike back up the hill. But he's on slicks, because the Pirelli man in the US has gone, oh no, you need Pirelli slicks.
At 5 a.m.
At 5 a.m. when it's... Yeah, exactly. And they've been out the warmers now for an hour. And it's so the tyres aren't great. So Eric's going up this section, and he hits the bumps. There's a braking area in it. He hits the bumps in the braking area, and the thing just goes lock to lock. We had a helmet cam on him. Goes lock to lock. He can't And
I bet the view is road disappears.
Oh, yeah.
Just horizon.
The road is Yeah, it's nearly Los Angeles. You can see it's that far to the next civilization. Because we're the top of the road's 14,000 foot, and he's nearly at the top. Thing goes lock to lock. He jumps off and he stops right at the edge. He stops on a drain cover at the top of this mountain. I don't know what the drain cover's for. What are they draining? Just ridiculous. And the bike disappears off the edge into a boulder field. It's gone like 70 foot down the thing. They had to get what they call a wrecker truck, like a tow truck, with a winch on it to get the bike back up. And we're like, so I'm sat, we've set him off for this run, and I think, well, he's going to be half an hour before he's back. So I'll go and sit in the van with the heater on. And then I saw the red flag go out, and I was like, you know that moment where I go, oh, what's Eric done? Because you just have that moment. You sort of know.
You just know it's... Yeah, you just know it's...
And I sat in the van going, if I just ignore it, it'll be fine. And then...
go green.
And then one of the other lads, his missus, comes down and she goes, Eric's fallen off, but he's okay. And I'm like, okay.
Now I'll get out of the van.
Yeah, now I'll get out of the van and wait. And Eric comes back on the back of a bike, and he gets on the back of his bike, unzips his legs and hands me the dashboard. Just the dashboard. And he hands it to me, and I just went to him like, what the fuck do you expect me to do with that?
How did he grab the... was he going down?
Oh, it's literally... I think the bike was already... The bike was already destructing itself. And it just it left the dashboard just at the top. And it's like...
It's a very popular thing, isn't it? Because obviously Motec Dash is like $5,000. So you know when you say
we ain't losing one of that.
MotoGP
and your immediate thought is, how the fuck do I get to San Francisco now?
Well, yeah. Like we have to go up the mountain and help them drag a motorbike 70 foot up through a boulder field.
What was left of that?
Well, it wasn't brand new.
No, I can imagine.
It wasn't brand new.
It wasn't going to buff out, was it?
No. We'd have needed a lot of T-cut. So we get it back up, and we put it back in the van, and we're like, oh, what's going on? I literally go back and I'm Googling the nearest rental place that will let me drop a bike off in San Fran, because I'm determined to make it coast to coast. And we get the bike back, and it's like, what are we going to do? So Eric's somehow in the... Well, actually, no, you go into racer mode, you go, well, how broken is it?
Yeah, get all the...
So you put the key in it. You put the key in it and go, I'm just going to see if it turns over. And it turns over and you're like, right. And the frame's basically all right. And the engine, other than it smashed the sump clean off it.
Right.
And stuff. And you go, but the fuel tank's wrecked, the rear subframe's wrecked, the bars are gone.
Exhaust.
One of the wheels gone, exhaust pipe's ruined.
Yeah.
Sump, side cover, a few bits. Just a couple of details. And then he's weirdly managed to get hold of somebody who knows the bloke in a BMW dealer 3 hours away in Denver who races S1000s. So Eric phones him up and the bloke goes, oh yeah, well I've got a spare. And so if you want, you can come and strip what you want off the spare and use it so it gets you going. It's like we've never met the bloke, and the next day at 9 o'clock in the morning, I'm at a BMW dealer in Denver.
Putting your dash on his bike and that's it.
Well, to be fair, I did actually say to him, I went, well, can we not just
take the bike?
Yeah, take this. And the blokes, seeing the wreckage that we've got, did they... He made a weird squeaking noise. And it's like, it was Brad from Northern Colorado Power Sports. That's who it was.
There's a shout out. A shout out.
So, and he literally, and I've taken over his workshop. So I've got his workshop, his toolbox, and I spent 10 hours. The dealership had closed, and I'm still stealing bits off his bike and bolting them onto ours. We get a bike that's working and running, and we put it back in the van. We take it back to tech control to scrutineering the next day, and the bloke just went, well, if you're happy to ride it, and we've... This is ridiculous. So, like, a day and a half later, we've got a working motorbike again. Eric shows me his leathers, and they've got holes in them, and the bloke went, well, I'm not wearing them.
That's class.
It's like,
that's class.
Right. And so,
that is class.
So Eric starts off his race run, and luckily you do Wednesday, Thursday, Friday practice, or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday practice, and then you've got a day off, luckily for us. And then you race like the Saturday or the Sunday or whatever. So we've just about had time to get this bike finished. Got it re-scrutineered. And Eric sets off on his main run at Pikes Peak. He sets off, and it's quite an early run. Off he goes. And about 3 minutes later, and it's 15 minutes or whatever to do a run. About 3 minutes later, red flag goes out. And I'm like, bloody hell, here we go. What haven't I tightened up? Because he hasn't ridden the bike since he crashed it. I'd literally rode it up and down the road and went, I think it's all right. And he's, I'll be grand. And so, and luckily he comes back. Somebody else had just literally slid off somewhere.
Right.
So he comes back and he's like, oh no, bike's meant, tyres are warm now. I can have a bit more of a go the next time. So he sets off and does his run and all the rest of it. And that was the year. That was the last year the bikes ran Pikes Peak.
I know that is gutting. Obviously, you're talking through this story, and all I'm thinking is I really want to go, but that was the last year.
Yeah, but the flip side of it was I'm going, I completely understand why they stopped. 'Cause the year that Guy went, somebody didn't stop at the top, did they?
I think that was one year. And then, the year we were there,
he ran out the road and went off the edge, didn't he?
Yeah, Carlin Dunn crashed. He could literally see the checkered flag and crashed.
On that
Literally,
shitty
well, actually,
tarmac
just out of sight of the flagman. And it took him about 3 hours to find him.
Fucking hell.
And you just go, there's a reason they don't run bikes there anymore.
Yeah. Jesus wept. So you've come. So you completed the trip. You got to San Francisco.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. So what?
Proper job. Yeah.
Proper job.
Hang on, what did you do with Brad's parts?
Well, yeah. So we bought.
He's still waiting.
Yeah, I think we paid him for. We paid him for a front wheel. We must have done.
You haven't bumped Brad, have you?
No.
You've bumped Brad, haven't you?
No, I haven't.
You can see he's glazing over here.
No, I like Brad. He's lovely.
I love Brad. He's never met Brad. I'm a big fan of Brad.
Offensive over Brad.
No, how can you do this to Brad?
No, and it was like I think the only things we couldn't give back
was his dignity.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, like we've got. I can't remember what it was. I can't remember. Like we had to keep the sump on it, and we had to keep something else. But we ended up going down this little workshop in Colorado Springs. We put our rear subframe back on and just hacked it off where the back beyond the back of the rider's seat was, and literally glued cable tie the number plate to the back.
That's class.
Almost to your arse cheek,
just so you could get it.
Yeah. We actually took our exhaust system off, and the guy in this little bike shop spent 4 hours with a blowtorch and a bar knocking the dents out of it, and it was knackered. There's holes in it and stuff, but it ran enough. It should have been a few horsepower down, but it don't matter. We literally cobbled this thing together.
Just like a stunt bike by the time you're done with it.
Oh, it looked like scrap. It looked like it had been thrown off the side of the mountain. In fact, I rode it. Yeah. Well, the convenient. In fact, the most lucky thing was when we got there, we'd taken the headlight off it because they didn't like us leaving it on. So we had to take the headlight unit off. So I ended up riding back with the headlight on, and that was. Because he did the actual race run for Pikes Peak, he did it with a 1970s motocross plastic number board on the front of the bike. It looked cool as hell. Yeah, we still got the number board somewhere. Just Trick literally this properly crash damaged cobbled together bike with half of Brad's bits still on it. I think we paid him $1,200 or something for the bits we couldn't give back because we needed them.
Wheel subframe.
Yeah. Oh no, we
sump.
Yeah, sump. I'm sure we kept a front wheel and a sump. Oh no, we didn't because Eric had taken his wets out because it rains at Pikes Peak, so we'd given him wheels back. But there was a few bits we had to keep.
Fucking maggot. Stories like that are brilliant.
They're class on there.
Yeah, and just you think. And I can't remember what it was. It was somebody we were talking to out there. Said we can't believe how accommodating these guys have been to us. They don't know us from Joe, and they just went, but you're the right kind of foreign.
Do you know what?
Right. It does. We'll put a pin in that. Yeah. Cheers, Brad.
Yeah.
Okay. It does just show, doesn't it, the motorbike world that folk will look after you anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're a biker, we all pull together, don't we?
It was a bizarre experience, really. Yeah. You look back at it and just go, that we should not have had a working motorbike come race day.
And what year was that then?
19.
So it was the last time it was ran, and then at this point you've carried on racing, done the roads and everything like that, and you've just that is just mega, absolutely mega. So let's fast forward a bit then. So as we know on this side of things, now what is your job title as far as Rapid Solicitors Racing?
No, it's Rapid Training. Rapid Solicitors.
Sorry, it's the advert that keeps going in the front of my mind. So fill in the gaps.
I'll fill in the gaps. Right. Right. So the team wise, what was it? 2020, 21 or 20? I can't remember. The True Love boys who were local to me here. They needed a mechanic.
Couple of riders, Lee Bob Jackson, he's another one for me.
Jesus, it's in the Waterboy.
There's got to be, isn't there?
In Halloran, just down the road.
Yeah.
I
mean, he's not a proper local, though, is he? But
he's not, but he's still chosen to live around.
To drink the water.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Houses are cheap. That's all I'm saying. So they needed a mechanic, and I just the offshore thing was crap because of COVID and stuff. So I just went trying to travel anywhere at that time was horrendous. So I just went. Well, I'll just start a workshop and I needed some work, and they needed a mechanic, so I'd just go on race weekends for them, and then bring the bike back and fix all the crash damage and stuff like that. But then the end of that year, that was my first year back in the BSB paddock for 15 years, and I was literally, I was just mechanicking, a stocker. And then both the True Love boys went into teams that had staff the next year. So I'm up Boasties at Champions Flat Track School one evening, riding and kicking about, and half the BSB paddock's there and wintering it. So I said to one of the lads up there, I went, if you know anybody needs a mechanic, let me know, because I could do with some work. And Boasty, one of the lads went, Boasty needs somebody for Franco. Because they're doing stock 600, and the lad who had been spannering for Ryan before, he's packed in. So I was like, oh yeah, I'll come and do that. And it worked out quite well, because like Boaty's a mega rider coach, because he's got so much, he'll spot
he's
stuff.
He's done everything.
Yeah. And he'd spot, like, he'll watch the Superbike boys going, oh, that was crap, he's doing that wrong. He's just like, he sees stuff that I'd never see. So he's mega rider coach, but he's never set suspension up or anything, whereas I've come from setting my own stuff up, and I'm interested in that. So I turned up, started fiddling with the chassis, and between me and Boasty, we spanned it, and luckily Team Boss Matt had got involved as well, and like come on board to bring some infrastructure to Franco. So team truck, paying some of the tyre bills, that sort of stuff. And that was the start of the Marvel HCL Motorsports team with Franco.
I was trying to remember the Marvel. That's right, yeah, there it is.
What's the Marvel HCL?
That's Matt's construction company that he's like,
right.
He's skinted going racing. So we all went racing, turned up at Silverstone and won the race. And then ended up second in the championship that year, and won a few races during the season. And it kind of helped that Franco can pedal a bike around.
He can pedal it. That lad can pedal a bike. To be fair,
he can pedal a bike around, and we got the bike working how he needed it to do what it do.
Kawasaki as well, wasn't it?
And them things do not handle that well.
636 you were running as well, yeah.
So it's like a few times in the year we got the Yamahas can do so and so, and you just went, we haven't got a Yamaha though, so suck it up, basically. Yeah. And to be fair, he always did, and we just got on with it, and he did the best we could with what we had. And then quite early that season, we'd said to him, like, if you got a choice next year, because if you're top in the championship, you can't stay, and it's time for him to move on. We're like, if you had the choice, what would you do next? And he went, I want to do stock 1000. I want to ride 1000. And Team Boss Matt, sort of towards the end of the year, went, well, we'll do Superstock then. Like, just like that. Like, right.
I can see why you said the word skin to his company after this, you know what I mean? So you get
I think Matt's really good at, like, he'll sort of assess everything that's going on, and then he's quite quiet, and then all of a sudden he'll go, right, let's do that. And once he's made the decision, that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
Must be a construction thing, because my mate that I work for now, he's a builder, Jim, and he's the fucking same. Once he's got in his head, he's doing something.
He's just doing it,
You've got to have that mindset as business, haven't you?
Yeah.
Like,
and it's probably the same thing. Yeah, I don't know where it comes from, but he's like, let's just do it. So it's like, righto, so we built a stocker, and we went testing with Honda, because by that point they sort of spotted him a bit, and we would bought the bikes off Honda and stuff, so we got invited to like the official tests in Spain and stuff that they ran.
And they are good like that, to be fair. Harvey's good like that. If you sort of show a bit of loyalty to them, they take a bit of notice, don't they?
Yeah, exactly.
They are good, yeah.
Well, it's interesting because towards the end of the Stock 6 season, I went and just literally walked into a couple of pit garages and went up to Steve Rogers at Raceways and went, if we wanted to stock Yamaha, what's the deal? And basically, like, he was promising us everything. And I think you could have, like, we could have bought Tim Neve's stocker and like 2 fresh engines and data backup from Tim Seed and this, that, or the other, and you just went, this package sounds amazing, and it wasn't bad money. But then we went to talk to Harv, and you got the polar opposite. You went, well, if you want a bike, you'll actually want 2 because you'll want the spares and you want a spare engine and stuff. We've only got 8 allocated. If you want one, you'll have to tell us in the next 2 weeks. That's the price. And you were promised nothing, and you went, But then Franco was like, and Pete and that were talking to the Neve twins and this and that, and everybody said, you want a Honda. If you want to win, you want a Honda.
But was that the year Tim smashed his pelvis in?
Yeah.
Oh, God, I tell you what, that was at Knock Hill. He was away with that championship.
Yeah.
Because that was the year Yamaha went from their own electronics, so allowed to run Motec, which opened up the parameters.
Yeah, so you get the engine brake and stuff sorted right, and the throttle maps, and changed the game.
At that point, were you sitting down with Matt and Boasty, like seeing Tim, seeing what you could do on it, going,
well, that's what I was...
we've made a mistake here.
No, because I was looking at it going, well, that bike can win. we know it can win. It's the only R1 on the grid. So you go, we're going to get a bit more support because it's the only one. And it was actually priced pretty well. Because
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you go, this is all right. But then you talk to Tim, and even he was like, well, I've seen the Honda in action, and it's easier to ride, and it works everywhere. And it's like, really, you actually want a Honda. So
Plus, being Frank was first year in the 1,000 and everything like that.
Well,
So
the Neve boys, another 2 Lincolnshire lads.
yeah,
there's someone in the water, young'un. Someone in
exactly.
the bloody water.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Can I get a glass of water before I leave? By the way, I'm getting a bit thirsty here.
Yeah. So we got this Honda, and we went testing with Honda, and we're out in Andalusia, and Andy Irwin give Franco a seat tap, follow me for a few laps, did a steady lap, then put some quick laps in, and Franco was still on his tail, and even he looked back behind him at one point. I had to do a double take, and all the Honda boys are looking at the stopwatches going, hang on a minute. Yeah, and then we turned up at Silverstone first round,
Silverstone again,
second in the first race, won the second race.
Yeah.
On the podium again at Alton Park to prove it wasn't a fluke. And
we were on the podcast. We were talking about that. Obviously, because he was. What year was that then?
That was last year. That was 23.
No, was it? No, I thought it was the year.
Start of 23.
Yeah.
Shut up, man.
Yeah.
It was the year with all the controversy over Dan. And Richard Kerr and
No way.
Yeah,
that was
I think we'd have been in the championship fight if he'd have stayed on our bike. But of course, he got the option to go to Honda to replace Andy Irwin for a bit.
So go on, because you will have been part of that conversation.
Oh yeah,
you got to be the fly on the wall and tell us how that was.
Oh yeah, so obviously Andy, it was sort of not. We were out of TT because Team Boss Matt wanted to come to TT. It was last time I raced there, so we had the awning and the team set up there, and obviously we know Honda at this point, and Franco's come over and basically to push a trolley for me and be a bit involved and enjoy the.
Yeah.
Enjoy his time.
Not this year, gone the year prior to that. Sorry, that's why I'm a little.
Yeah.
I'm like 23. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, so Matt's talking to Harv, and Harv's like, "Oh, Andy Irwin's fallen off, and his injury's worse than we're sort of letting people know." And he said, "Well, how about would you let Franco ride our bike? Because obviously you've put a lot of time and effort and money invested in him for this year for stock, but we're interested in putting him on a superbike." And the three of us, me, Matt and Franco, sat in the Honda truck at TT and basically did a deal to let him go for a few rounds, which was a bit bizarre.
Was that FOC?
Yeah.
Can't have been easy that for Matt when you've invested in.
But to us, when the offer came in, you go, firstly, you're not going to get offered a factory back Honda very often.
No.
And right, yeah.
Bloody hell, yeah, no.
The idea of setting the whole thing was set up to try and get Franco as far as we could go.
Right.
And for him to get the opportunity to go, if you turn that down, the chances are you're never going to get an offer again.
You couldn't.
And actually, Matt, when you put it that way, Matt's achieved exactly what he set out to do.
Exactly, yeah.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
Obviously, Franco was peddling the thing as well, but like you say, those situations. Now, was it too soon of a decision? Because we know the depth of field is superbike. You know what I mean? No one. Again, we were talking about that in the last episode on the catch up, and it's like how every field has its own discipline. If you know what I mean? Like if you put a MotoGP lad in BSB, he will not be at the front straight away. There is that
I think
side of it.
For me, it was going in mid-season is difficult.
Yeah.
And you're jumping into, in effect, somebody else's team. So they've got a rider, they're used to the feedback from that rider. And this young lad's been given to them, like put in a team, and they've basically been given there's your new rider, do what you can with him. Mm-hmm. But they know he's not a permanent fixture. And it's a difficult environment to be in a team that big, because all of a sudden Franco's 19 and he's got this team of middle-aged guys sort of looking at him for feedback and looking at everything. It's like he hasn't got that much experience. So it's like he can tell you what a bike feels like, but he can't tell you what it needs. That's for them to work out, which is what we'd always worked out. Mm-hmm. But so there was a definite problem with what he needed. They probably couldn't really give him.
Do you think if he'd have stuck on the stock 600, if he'd have stuck on the stock Thou, and then the same scenario had happened 12 months later, do you think that would have been more difficult because he'd have got into the not bad habits? Because this is a really interesting conversation I had with a friend of mine, Andy, who lives in Switzerland, and he brought this point.
Swiss Andy.
Swiss Andy. And he brought up the point.
I thought you knew that. Why don't I know Swiss Andy?
He brought up the point that lads spend too long on stock thous.
Yeah.
They get used to riding with electronics and all the rest
Well,
of
the
it.
thing is, we never had any electronics on it. From literally the first day we took him to Spain, we took it out and I'd put some traction on it and I'd put like softer power modes and stuff in it to make it more manageable for him because it was new to him.
Right.
And literally, he did the first run out on it, came back in and can have some more power. Is there more? And it's like all day, all we're doing is putting more power in and taking the traction out. And by the end of the first
Just
day,
trying to get a feel of it.
By the end of the first day, we were as fast as it went with no traction on it.
Right.
And because we knew the plan was always to try and get him on a superbike, so just don't give him it to begin with. So we like places like Knockhill, we ran a little bit of anti-wheelie because the back brake's crap and you need to stop it wheeling. But we never ever ran any traction on it.
Really?
Yeah. But a stocker, going back to the original point of that, a stocker is easier to ride than a superbike because the chassis is not as stiff and they're easier to extract the maximum they've got. So I think if you spend too long on a stocker, when you get on a superbike, it's so stiff and it's so awkward and the margin for error is smaller. Yeah, and I think if you spend too long on a stocker, then the problem is it's more difficult to convert to a superbike. Whereas Franco rode the superbike, and the first time he rode it, he got back in and he said, it feels like a Moto3 bike. It's stiff, like a Moto3 bike, but just really fast. And so he liked it, but it did take him time to adapt. And of course, where you'd normally have a week in Spain and pre-season tests and all the rest of it, he's not got that. He had a lunchtime at Cadwell Park.
Fucking hell.
Yeah. And then Snetterton. You're like, yeah, it's a step, innit?
Yeah.
Is he secured a seat for next year?
No, and I know there's a couple of things ticking away, but I'm not sure there's anything signed. Possibly. Yeah, I don't actually know for sure.
Right.
But you're not working with him next year, the Rapid team.
No.
But that's interesting because the Rapid team have gone from Superbike to
Super Sport.
So what was the decision making behind that? And sorry, also a first question is when did it go from Marvel to Rapid?
Right, yes. Yeah, Rapid Training. If you want to check out, it's rapidtraining.co.uk.
Nice. He's done this before.
We do.
He's done this before.
Well, to be fair, I work for Rapid as well.
Dare say, Dave.
Yeah,
Dave's not part of the company.
He needs the bills paid.
So Rapid used to sponsor one of the other Superbike teams, and I worked for Rapid. So I do the track coaching. I'm on the board of directors. I'm lead track coach at the moment, and so I'm involved in the structure of the business. And we use the Superbike thing for branding.
Yeah.
But obviously, when we're doing stock 600 and then stock 1000, they want the Superbike branding because it's bigger and better. And then we were getting to the point where we're going to go Superbike racing, and I had to walk into somebody else's pit garage and go, by the way, I'm basically going to steal your sponsor because it makes more sense for me to have the sponsorship for the team I'm working in.
Yeah.
So that anything we learn on a Sunday, we can put into our track courses and our road courses on Monday. It's like the link is so strong. And it's like we're a performance brand, so it's like you can come to Rapid and we primarily road coaching, but we're moving more and more into track coaching. So if you want to basically be a faster or better road rider or a faster or better track rider, you come to Rapid. And so I'm the link between Rapid and the team, which has worked quite well.
It's a natural conclusion, really.
It is really, yeah. Because there was talk at one point. One of the other directors was saying, "Oh, why don't we get you to work in that team?" And I was like, "Well, firstly, there's not a job for me in that team, and secondly, I've already got a team. It's really good. It's like we could just go here. It's like we moved the name across,
right,
and only upset one team in the paddock.
So, was that budget from Rapid considerable enough to actually go, right, we're going to go from stock?
Oh, no.
So this is the interesting thing, because the fact that you've just gone from stock
to Superbike.
Franco's gone. What we do now? You had Tim Neve on for a couple of rides and stuff like that. So when stock was still running at this point.
When Franco went to ride the factory bike, obviously we had a stocker sat there that was a good bike, and we had a whole team structure, and me and Matt was like, well, we still quite like to go racing, and Boasty, of course, is really big mates with the Neve boys, and so, and Tim, who'd jacked in the McCann superbike, and it wasn't working for him at all, but he'd seen what we do, and it was like going racing with mates again. So he sort of approached and went, well, can I come and have a test? So we put him on the bike at Cadwell, and I think he did his fastest ever lap at Cadwell on a test day on a stocker. Then we did Thruxton with him. I think he was 7th and 6th, and then and then he won at Cadwell. And he just, because he was doing some World Championship flat track stuff as well, and just he basically wanted to come and win Cadwell.
And he did. It's a fast switch, mate. If you want to jump out and hit the button. The heat and Joe's got cold. Joe's got cold. So the team's ongoing. You've had Tim. You've continued on that side of things. But was the goal to actually go, well, we need Franco back? Or what was the thought process?
We actually thought that Franco would stay on the Honda all season, because we thought Andy's injury was going to keep him off the bike all year.
You're going around filling him in, just jumping on his leg.
Give him a nudge every time you walk past him.
You feeling better? Yeah.
But I'm terrible at punching people. So.
You got Eric Wilson to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you want to threaten a man, he's got to run right accidentally. So. So we end up with, well, Andy decided he can go back. He's fit enough for the last 2 rounds last year. So Matt, of course, at this point does. Stuart Higgs is putting a bit of, influence of, well, you could just come and do pathway. You could convert your stocker and you could have a pathway bike.
Yes, I remember this.
And we literally borrowed a load of Motec stuff off Honda and a different clutch and
swapping brake calipers and you do loads.
Yeah.
Jesus.
But you go in literally like a day at the Honda workshops. We put our bike on the bench there, and between us and the Honda boys, we put all the Motec stuff on and did all the stuff. And Chris Pike, who is
legend,
a genius of all these things. He was our electronics guy. He was sat in the back of our garage doing our electronics. He's went, you don't want to learn Motec at the end of the season. I'll just come in and do it. So it's like,
fair play.
And he was Johnny Ray's crew chief in World Superbikes on his. He's been there and done it.
Yeah, and he sat in the back of our garage, and because I'm crew chief, technically, I'm going, well, I'm making decisions on setup, and Chris Pike's just sort of sat in the back, just nodding occasionally. And I think there was one point where he sort of slightly shook his head. And I was like, and we won't do that?
2 turns are no. We'll leave that how it is.
Yeah, and so we had this weird thing where we had one of the other sponsors visit, or a potential sponsor visit. And he walked in the back of the garage, and in the back of the garage is this guy on a laptop in a Honda top, literally sat next to our pile of scrub tyres and stuff. And he's gone, well, this looks professional, doesn't it? It's like this, but it looks good because it proves we've got this link to Honda and all this other stuff. And then did the last 2 pathway rounds, and in the damp at Donington in our first weekend we were 6th.
Wow!
Because we did the warm up lap, and we got onto the grid and. We all sort of went, what tyres? Because some people are putting inters in both ends, some people have got a slick rear and a wet front. We're like, what's the tyre? And like I said to Franco, well, you're the only one who's seen all the conditions. What do you say? And he's like, and to be fair to him, between him and Pete, they just went, wet front into rear. I think the inter will go faster.
Right.
And that was the combination. Mm-hmm. So I think I can't remember if it was Kyle or Ryan Vickers won it on the hard compound wet rear, and we went wet front into rear, and off we go, and top 6 first weekend in Superbike. Never managed to do it since.
You did it.
And then we did 2. We did there and Brands as pathway bike, but Brands actually highlighted we were half a second faster than Linfoot was going. We were under the stock lap record. Literally, we've got a stocker with Motec and a different rear tyre. And we went, and we're 18th. We went, doesn't matter how good you go on a pathway bike, if you want to be fine for top 10s, you can't have a pathway bike.
Yeah.
And so that point, Matt makes the big decision, well, we'll go full superbike then. Like, and there was a little bit of me that goes, that's a very big step. It's like the stocker with some bits on it's one thing.
Yeah.
a full superbike.
Superbike. Well, sorry,
Yeah.
one full-blown superbike and a full spares package.
Yeah, and then it's mind-boggling because you go.
What was the price figure?
You're not supposed to ask that, Dom. That's like
No.
asking how much engagement
No. On Chasin the Racin.
We asked the question.
Joe, you're not new to this, son. It's about time you open your ears.
Right. If I don't do the deal, Matt does the deals, so I
Poor
don't
Matt.
actually know what we paid for ours because we got a bike, 6 pairs of wheels, 2 full spec engines, and a few other bits.
So you bought like a full package from Honda.
Oh, we bought spec
Everything.
chassis and this, that, and the other, and a lot of the stocker stuff fits, which is useful.
Yeah.
Would you say that's the bare minimum to get it going? No, just curious from your point of view.
Yeah,
Hang on,
because
he's going to tell you that price.
He's about to.
Yeah. Well, I know the price rumoured at the time, if you wanted a used bike on its own, was 65 grand. If you want a brand new one built into the same spec, I think they were 92,000.
And then a spares package on top.
Oh yeah.
Takes you to what?
Engine's going to be 25 grand a shot.
Now,
So you're not getting a lot of change out of 175 grand there.
So when Matt says this, looking you deadpan in the eye, let's go superbike.
Yeah.
Was he aware? Not being serious, you know what I mean?
Oh,
was it like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Gans,
We did
I'm about to spend £250,000.
Yeah, we did a
Round
lot
that
of like. He's pretty good at doing a budget, and the thing that actually probably caught us out was actually the little stuff. It was like we spent £9,000 on front brake discs
Fucking hell.
because we
Must have a good accountant.
I think
He did, he's in prison.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, really good.
Reel him out, get the next one there.
Well, it's like the brake disc is the real oddity because you've bought a bike, but the Hondas all have Nissins on because it's a Honda Nissin tie-up. But they can't sell them because they're full factory. We're not allowed those Nissins. They're not allowed to leave their garage, sort of thing.
They're not a customer product.
No, they are not. You cannot buy those. So you can, I mean, officially they have a price tag, so you're allowed to run them in Superbike, but you can't actually order a set.
Right.
Love it.
So, and to be fair, we wanted the Brembos anyway, because the argument is the Brembos have a little bit more feel. The Nissin's probably actually got a bit more stopping power.
Stop, start. Yeah.
Yeah, but the Brembo's meant to have better feel.
Which for somebody going who's still fairly green on a superbike, it's
and we've got what everybody else has got.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I don't mean that disrespectfully, by the way.
No, but they're fine.
Oh, yeah.
He had a baptism of fire.
And as we all know, us as a team, we were new. We had to learn more than he did.
Yeah.
But it was daft that, like brakes, it turned up, Honda had bolted on, they'd phoned up Brembo and ordered the fanciest calipers you're allowed, these World Superbike spec finned things. They look awesome. Like, you wouldn't want to put them in gravel trap. And we looked at them and went, they're 4,000 quid for a pair of calipers. But then the pads are 100 quid a pad. So 400 quid for a set of pads.
Yeah.
And nobody else makes them other than Brembo for those calipers. And I went, well, what's the next spec down caliper? Well, the pair of calipers is £3,000, but your pads are only 70 quid each for Z04s. I went, over a season, that saved us nearly £4,000 having the lower spec caliper.
Right.
And they stopped plenty
And
well
the
enough.
performance is pretty much the same.
Yeah, we ran the 336mm, like the biggest disc you're allowed. But because we wanted the biggest disc, Brembo didn't do an off-the-shelf fitment for the wheels we had. So then they had to make what they call the bells, the centre, the carrier. They had to design and make them specially for us. And we were the only team that ran Brembos in that size on those wheels. Because McConnell's lot were running a smaller. They were running like a 330. But we wanted
just
the
to make it
biggest.
fit, yeah.
Well, I think they were going the logic of we'll still have enough braking, but it'll turn a bit nicer, and like they were running a Moto 2 caliper, not the HPK monoblock that we had, and it's like just different spec because that's what they decided to build. And to be fair, they actually had more experience than us, so they were going off what they probably thought would work best, whereas we just went, everybody else has got that, we'll have that. And
Which would be more than logical to do that on your first year.
Yeah.
Jeez, of course it is.
And Franco was always really good on the brakes. Like he's really strong, but he doesn't use the back. He just on the way into corners, it's all front. So we'll give him the biggest discs and stuff, so give him the best chance we can. But yeah, we spent £9,000 on front brake discs alone, and then during the season you write a couple off in gravel traps and stuff, and by the time
which is all part of the learning process as well, isn't it?
And like rear discs, come to Knock Hill and places, you're on the rear brake so hard that we're warping rear discs, and they're full floating proper superbike discs, and they're dishing. And
Jesus, wow.
And so then you're having to buy some of them, and then and then of course you get they've just started making the 6mm rear disc, not the 5.5, so you want that, and it's like, well, yeah, we'll need 6 of those then, and how much are they? And rear pad, like you're getting through rear pads every weekend or a couple of sets a weekend, and Z04 rear pads. You're like, they're not mega expensive, but when you're doing 2 sets a weekend, to go with a disc that you've written off, you go, they were the bits that we underestimated. Because you go from a stocker where a set of brake pads lasts fairly well, you go to superbike and you're
chiseling them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, horrendous on them. Yeah.
Okay, now. But what's the plan for this year then?
Super Sport with Hondas.
So why from superbike to super sport? Is it literal cost?
No. Some of it was cost related.
I hit a nerve there. No, Dominic.
No, don't get me wrong. It was. We sat down. The original thing was, we're in Superbike. We spent all this money. We built this team up. We've got spares. We've got this and that. If money had been no object, you'd go, right, well, we'll have a 24 spec Honda, all the new stuff, and we totted the
Superbike,
and we totted the numbers up and just went, and that's lovely if we've got a spare 400 grand.
Is that honestly the number you got to?
Yeah. Well, by the time you built,
that's year 2.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, we spent 320 grand this year. Well, Matt did. I didn't.
I like Matt.
Including buying the bike?
No. No, it didn't. That was 320 plus the bike.
Right.
Yeah, because that's a business asset. So
if anyone listening to this sees Matt, pat him on the back.
Yeah.
Please. You know what I mean?
And if I'm honest, quite a bit of it was out of his own pocket at the end. So it's like you go, yeah.
I tell you what, I don't mean to take anything away. And I know that this is, Chrissy's pod. But it just shows what Chrissy did.
Amazing.
With Gabe, you know what I mean? Like,
with Gabe and that, yeah.
Incredible.
Incredible. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like what you lot have done is incredible. And it just shows what I just like I like to bring it back. What he went through was phenomenal.
You see, the weirdness I have is I look at it and go, from an insider, you look at it and go, yeah, we're spending a lot of money. But then actually, if you step back from it completely and you go, this is the highest level of bike sport in the UK, the best domestic championship in the world, and you can be competitive with 320 grand. And you go, actually, that's not as ridiculous as it could be.
Yeah.
It's a chunk of money, but it's not the millions and millions that World Supers and MotoGP and all the rest are. It's like, it's... it's...
I completely agree with you, but it's...
But then the problem is that you go, right, if we want to step it up to the next step, you go, we spent 320 grand this year. If we want the new bike, the 24 bike, which is... It's not massively better.
No, there's enough changes on it that mean you've got to start again.
Yeah. Temps. You're chasing temps, and there was temps at...
Charlie Nesbitt did the lap record at Cadwell on the old bike.
Yeah.
So it is capable, but the new bike is, as you say, it might be a tenth of a second. By the end of the race, it might be half a second because it's a bit kinder on the tyre and this and that.
Well, like you said before, it's like you're looking at a bike that makes it easier.
Yeah.
It's easy to get that 10th. You know what I mean? That's why you're buying the better bike, because you're not having to... Charlie Nesbitt to do that lap record... had to pull it out the bag, you know what I mean? You had to go, right, that's everything.
Yeah, but
and if people can do that, it's easier.
But you have to replace all your spares package because none of your 23 stuff fits the 24 bike.
Quite a lot of it swapped over because we looked at it and went, the forks, yokes, brakes, wheels, swinging arm, rear subframes, fuel tanks.
Oh, stand corrected then.
Quite a lot swaps.
Fair play.
Like half the electronics, the ECU and the dashboard swap, but the wiring looms don't, the engines don't.
Yeah.
The frame's different.
Yeah.
There's enough differences that we totted it up and went, if we go with what we've got, we literally need to buy a few spares to replace what we've wrecked during the year and refresh our engines. So you go, we're going to spend 50 grand. Whereas if we get the new bike, you've got to buy, really, you actually, and we ran quite low on, like, we didn't have a swinging arm and forks and stuff because Honda had them. And if we'd have really needed them and we'd have turned it with our begging bowl, but you can't keep doing that.
Yeah.
And so you go, realistically, what we actually need to do is buy a new bike, built, and keep out and break ours for bits.
Yeah.
So you go, it added, I think when we worked out, it added 170 grand to build a new bike for 0.1 of a second a lap. And then if you want to be competitive as well, you then add in, the next thing is a full-time data guy.
Yeah.
So you go, over the season, that's a good few grand.
What does that cost, a full data man? At superbike level. You know when you talk about British wages and like labourers and stuff like that, it's spitballing.
When I worked with the True Loves, we had a couple of weekends with Pete from Alpha Racing come over, and he was €1,000 a day.
There we are.
Yeah, so a really top level data guy, a guy who's the tenth of second difference is the Tim Seeds in this world, the guys like that. I would expect them to be $1,000 a day.
There we are. It's just cute, these fake, there's people think, I'll give you 20 quid, it doesn't really, does not work like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's like, don't go wrong, I can read a data logger and I can make changes. And the nice thing is with the Honda system, they gave us all the map stuff, all the info. You get these Excel sheets full of throttle maps and ignition maps and engine brake stuff, and they've put so much effort into making it easy for themselves on race weekends. They literally copy and paste maps with different engine brakes in and stuff. And they give us all that. And they come in, if I'm stuck, I go and see their data guy or Chris or whatever, and they point you in the right direction. And you go, being in with Honda gives you so much of an advantage getting going, because they've done all the hard work for you, and they literally give it you on a plate. And if you can copy and paste, you can pretty much run it.
They're thinking they've got a wide view on that, haven't they? They're thinking of the bigger picture. The more Hondas at the front.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
It's a better thing.
Do you know, with all there's lots of talk, and I personally think it's bullshit. But they talk about the talk of super stock in maybe a couple of years, stock thou maybe being gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a rumour flying. Because I think I can't see that being the case, but you've lived it. And
the problem they've got, I think, if you're Stuart Higgs and Scott Smart, you're sat there going, superbikes is lots of money, and half the time the stockers are, if you put a stocker out with a superbike, they'd be in the mid-pack. Because they're so easy to run to the absolute limit. The superbike has the potential to go faster, but it's so much more difficult to get it to do it. And the stocker's cheaper to run and all the rest. So I think they've got this problem. I think there was a team managers meeting that I didn't go to, but I've heard whispers afterwards. What they want to do is basically make everything, the superbikes, 1% slower. Because the bikes are getting too fast for the circuits.
Right.
So the logic, I think, is this 1%.
So in theory, hold on, 999, 998, is that what you're saying?
Well, I actually looked it out and you went,
No, you know
the average UK circuit, the average lap time on a lot of the circuits are around the 130 mark, 130, 140, which is 100 seconds. So if you want to knock 1% off, you've got to knock a second lap off. And actually, when you look at it, they've actually already written the rules for that, and it's called pathway. Because if you look at the pathway lap times, admittedly different riders on them, but the pathway bikes are generally 1.5 seconds off. So I'm going, if they want to slow superbike down by 1%, they've actually written the rules for that already, and it's called pathway. And it would save everybody a load of money, but then you've got the problem of that's doing the same lap time within a couple of tenths as your stocker.
So there's no point. Yeah.
So I have a theory on this as well. You've got me going now. We're into this now.
Because you hear these many rules.
So you go, the problem with the stocker, stockers are so good, and they've got electronics.
Yeah.
Like the Motec stuff, it's okay, but it's been...
You need that £1,000 man to
get the best of
unlock
it.
that.
Yeah. Whereas on a stocker, you can dial a bit of traction into it. The Hondas have got anti-jerk on them. They've got engine brake assist. They've got the Honda engine...
And you can do it on the fly.
Yeah, and the Honda engine brake is this clever on the stocker that you can tell it how much percentage of rear wheel skid you want in the software. So basically, I'd like it to back in 12%.
Yeah.
You tell it to do that, and it'll just get to that point and hold it. Near enough. There's a bit of variation with tracks and this and that, and you go, but I can program a Honda stocker to basically drift itself perfectly into a corner.
Yeah, well, it's like the R1s came out with that slide control, didn't they?
Yes. And and of course every couple of years there's an update on the stockers, so they get better.
Yeah.
And you think they're so good, and they've made them so good to ride, which is why everybody wants basically a Honda or a BM stocker, because they're the only ones still getting developed. And you go, these bikes are amazing, but they're so good they're too close to superbike.
Yeah.
So I go, well, if you slow superbike down, which is make everybody run pathway bike, which would save everybody a load of money, but then you've got to slow your superbikes down, But I reckon the best way to do that, the two easiest ways to slow a bike down is take away the power and take away the grip. Simple, innit?
Yeah.
And you go, you take away the power by putting them on a control ECU, which ironically, generally I don't like putting control ECUs on stuff. But you look at a stocker and you go, it's $4.5, $5 for a kit ECU and loom for a Honda, then plus your data logger if you're running logging, which everybody does. So you go, you can spend $6 or $7 on the electronics on a stocker. Whereas you put the Super Sport equivalent Mectronic stuff on, it's cheaper than the kit stuff. So you go, you could put Mectronic ECU or control ECU on the stockers, and the organisers go, right, that's your map. So every bike's got this thing, and then they all do 200 horsepower. They're not revving as hard or whatever, or you've taken a bit of rev or a bit of throttle opening off them, so the engines last longer. Everybody's got the same thing. There's no traction on them. No anti-wheeler or anything. So you don't get used to riding with that.
Mm.
All of a sudden, you don't need a data man as much because, well, I can't change very much, so you don't need the data guy. Or you ban data logging because it's a stocker. It's meant to be a road bike.
Do you then leave Superbike as it is now, running as it is now, and then you've still got that gap between the visible
Superbike become pathway, and then
Superbike become pathway to save a load of money.
Yeah, and then stocker
and a stocker
power
becomes,
cap on it.
Yeah, a stocker becomes a controlled and more heavily controlled.
Would that bring more manufacturers in? Because I'm trying to think. You got Davey Todd who won the championship
on a BM.
David Allingham, outstanding performance for David Allingham on the MV.
Yeah.
Who else was on the BM that year?
Not really anybody.
You know what I mean?
Not anybody of note.
No.
It was literally 2 BMs and a field full of Hondas.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, so
and like Cam Dixon really showing what he can do on an R1, but on basically a bike that isn't as good as everybody else's.
I tell you who really impressed Lewis Rollo in the he did outstanding on that, and Josh Owens on the Aprilia. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he had moments of absolute brilliance on that thing.
Yeah.
But like you say, if you brought that Mectronic system into stock, would that bring all the bikes
you can
up?
all of a sudden your R1's
a competitive
exactly
again.
the same as everything else.
Do you think that the Superbike rules going to pathway is a sensible way of doing it though? Because you've sort of not Superbike then, are you?
That's the argument, isn't it?
You've taken the title off. You have taken the title.
You do. Yeah, no, that is a fair point. It's not a super anymore.
Yeah.
But BSB, let's be honest, is a show business.
It's entertainment.
It's entertainment because it's not a feeder for World Superbike anymore.
No,
because we don't have any electronic assistance, we don't have traction and per corner engine brake mapping and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And it's different engine specs and stuff. The gap between a BSB bike and a World Superbike is so big that, well, Tommy Bridewell, win a BSB, jump on a World Superbike, and the thing's so different to ride because of the electronics.
We had a catch up about this, and it was exactly that we talked about. Who did we say the last person was to do it? Somebody like.
Well, the last person to win BSB and then be really fast there.
Shaky Burn.
No, it'd be like
Alex.
Yeah, Alex. Yeah, and that's the problem. Is that was 10 years ago, wasn't it? And the rules, and we were so good at breeding.
Yeah,
World
because
Championship production
because our bikes were the same as their bikes.
Yeah, and you look at Johnny, Chaz, Cal.
Yeah, but it's that almost BSB isn't a feeder for World Superbike anymore, and because
they wanted that way, though, weren't they?
But also the structure as well is Dorna are looking for the guys who are getting kicked out of MotoGP or haven't got a ride in Moto2, put them in Worlds.
Yeah. So
you go. And this all links together quite nicely in a minute. Superbike isn't your breeding ground for young riders to go to World Championship anymore. Supersport is.
Yeah.
Because the rules in Supersport are exactly the same in Britain as they are at World. Next Gen Supersport, a Next Gen Supersport Honda is exactly the same bike in both championships.
That's what Christian was talking about when we had our catch up,
Yeah, basically, like the next generation thing, which I think it's had a difficult birth. Because you've had next-gen supersport bikes running against purebred supersport bikes, which had different engine rules, different electronics, different stuff, and there was some GP2s thrown in just to waste everybody's time. Apologies to my new rider. Well, they were just the idea, of course, which you'd end up with a field of Moto2 bikes, and it never happened, did it?
No.
But it's been a weird
costing
transition.
Again,
yeah.
you have the Moto 2 cost. It's you want to buy a second-hand Moto 2 bike, you're spending 50 grand on that, aren't you?
The logic was you'd spend less on engines because they weren't as fast.
Yeah.
But you'd just spend double the amount in fork outers every time you crash one.
Yeah.
So you go in,
and your setup costs go back to your setting up for a superbike team over setting up for a stock team.
Yeah.
The outlay is huge, isn't it?
Yeah, there ain't a lot of second-hand Calex swinging arms Moto 2 bikes on eBay, is there? So you can't go down the Honda dealer and buy one.
No. So
Yeah.
that goes back to Supersport for 2025 then for you guys.
Yeah, it came down to me and Matt. We literally stood in the pit lane at Brands at the last round.
I'm impressed he's still standing, to be fair, after all this. After all this stress, fair play, he's a strong man.
It was an odd end to the season because every weekend had been so intense, and obviously when Frank ended up injured after Thruxton, we had Tom Ward on for a couple of rounds. Tom's bang on to work with him. Tom's really good fun, really interesting, but rides really differently to Franco, so we had to relearn a lot of stuff with him.
Which is good for the team.
It was, yeah. It was really useful, actually.
He had a good run as well, actually.
Yeah, he did bloody brilliant.
Really
Absolutely brilliant.
And we just had a persistent issue at Donington. Basically, when the bike's upright, it doesn't stop very well. Or it stops really well on the front, but it lifts the back wheel up really easily when you're upright.
Mm.
When you've got lean angle on, it's fine, because as soon as you get lean angle on, it loads the chassis up and you get rear contact. But upright, straight line, and at Donington, all the upright straight lines are either slightly downhill, into the S's, into Melbourne Loop, into Goddard's, or dead flat first corner. And so it picks the back wheel up, and Tom's a Zoom motorboy, isn't he?
Yeah.
So he wants the thing back in, and he wants loads of engine brake, and he wants the back wheel to drag the bike in. And it doesn't do that. Franco never had that problem because he brakes all with the front, so he just braked with the front and literally trail brake it in on the front, and it didn't really matter what the engine brake is, so we never touched it. Tom gets on it, we've got the polar opposite.
Mm.
And at Cadwell, that wasn't too much of a problem. We saw a little bit of it, we weren't too bad, but at Donington, that became our Achilles heel at Donington. Then we had literally little bits like he'd have a bad start and then got nerfed onto the ground, and it just, the whole weekend just didn't pan out very well for us, which was a little bit frustrating. And then we ended up at Brands, and Tom's sponsor basically wanted to ride the stocker and get it back on the podium and not ride the superbike. And we're like, oh, we haven't got a rider. And we don't want to put somebody on it for one round who hasn't had any seat time to go testing because you're just in for a hiding. So me and Matt were kicking around the paddock going, well, what do we do next year? And we've worked out all these big numbers for superbike, and in our heads we're going to go and do superbike because why wouldn't you? We've got all this stuff. And then we sort of went, a couple of days later when we decided we weren't going to stay with Franco, the next problem was, who'd you put on it? And we'd been talking to a few riders and some good riders, but nobody who really gave us that bit where you went, we're going to really change their career. We can change their life. Like, we're not going to be that rider. We wouldn't be able to change it enough that they could potentially go to Worlds or whatever. And you go, that's what the team's for. The team was to get a young rider, somebody with real potential who might not have the money and might not have the structure to be able to do it themselves. So we sort of sat back and went,
fair play to you for that, because it's a rarity, isn't it? It's a rarity to find teams that are still doing it with that intention.
Yeah, me and Matt sort of had this heart-to-heart where Matt had been talking to these Superbike riders and going, I can't get excited about it because we're doing Superbike because we've got a Superbike.
Yeah.
And because it's Superbike. We went, well, on the flip side then, what else? If we turn it round and do the opposite, what do we do? And the first name that came up, I said, well, Owen Jenner. Because he's won Junior Super Sport, then he won, a couple of years later, he won Stock 600. And that was the year for me that he went from crashing and looking like a liability, to be fair to him, to all of a sudden he'd learnt where the limit was. And he stopped crashing and he just went win, 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 win. Nicked the championship off our mate Aaron Sylvester. And another Lincolnshire lad.
Someone in the water.
And we just sort of went, oh, he's stopped being an idiot. And he stopped crashing every weekend. And it's like, and then of course he got on the GP2 bike, which is an oddity, and absolutely walked the championship and was rubbing it along with the front boys in Supersport. And the difference with that for me is we don't know from the outside how good that bike was compared to the Supersport bikes, because it's an oddity. But the fact that he was smoking the other GP2s and smoking his teammate, he went, well, he's obviously got something, and he didn't crash it all year. And he went, that's the rider you want, and he's 20.
Which is the perfect fit for what you're trying to do.
Yeah, and so, to be fair to him, Matt went to him and said, when we were still thinking Superbike, he saw him at Brands Hatch and went, do you want to come and ride for us? And Owen went, yeah. Do you want to ride the Superbike? And he went, no.
Interesting.
It's too big a step. He didn't want it. He wants to win Supersport and either go to Superbike as a Supersport champion or go to Worlds. And he went,
Stock's not even on his radar.
No, he said, if he wants to win Supersport and use that as his stepping stone up. And so me and Matt did let's go Supersport then. So everything we've learned over the last 3 years, this will be our 4th year as a team and our 4th different category. So
Another year as a rookie.
Yeah, tick all the boxes.
So that means you've got to sell all the Superbike stuff.
Yeah.
So there's now an opportunity to advertise.
Joe's just led you down the path there. Finish it. Come on.
That's if you'd like a Superbike, contact Matt at Marvel HCL Motorsport.
So you pass the book there.
You go, yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Don't get in touch with me.
I do the spannering, the setup, and the technical stuff, and Matt does the money.
But you can field an inquiry if somebody gets.
I mean, don't get me wrong. If it doesn't sell, and there's a track day, and we're not busy doing anything else, me and Matt might take it out and have a go on it if it's still here.
Good lad.
So no, it's not for sale.
TT entries open, so
yeah. I mean, we have got big fuel tanks.
They are sorted.
Yeah. So
another exciting year then.
Yeah, another year learning.
You do a bit of subby work as well, because you've been helping a good friend of mine, Declan. Well, great. I tell you, not more importantly, Grace's good friend, Declan. Deco.
Yeah.
Like Deco. Must give him a shout out there, because Grace is obviously, this is a great show. If you don't mention Deco, she never said that.
You've got to mention Deco. Deco's spot on. This came a little bit from the Superstock thing. I've worked our way around the Superstock and we could work it, and it helped us putting Tim on the bike and having Tim win on the bike as well, because it proved it wasn't just Franco. It proved that we were doing something right. And then Franco was quite matey with Deco, so he's like messaged me over winter going, oh, Deco's bought a Honda, can you give him some pointers? So I've sent him a couple of maps to try pre-season testing and stuff. And then during the season, every now and again, I'd stick my head in and see where they were and try and help them out a little bit. But they were generally staying quite like self-sufficient, and the boys were doing a really good job. And I thought he was having a good season. Like, he was in the points most of the time. And it was going well, but he'd sort of plateaued. He was in the points quite early and then sort of didn't step any further up. And I was like, what's going on? And then he sent me a message about 5 minutes after Matt told me we weren't doing Brands Hatch. So he sent me a message.
I've got my checkbook.
He sends me this message going, oh, do you think at Brands Hatch you might be able to help us out with a bit of suspension setup? And I was like, well, actually, I could come and do the whole weekend with you because I haven't got a bike.
Yeah.
And so, I toddle off down to Brands Hatch with me money rake out and pitched in, and like him and like Kev Bindrew's helping him.
I was about to say you had to mention Kev, because Kev obviously spotted for Chrissy and very good friends.
Oh, and Kev in that, like, his whole team, because it's Deco, his dad, like his mum does the cooking, his dad spanners the bike with his girlfriend's dad, and it's just like
it's class, isn't it?
Oh, it's such a good little team.
Hey, Deco's that gave me like 100 quid towards the TT. What a gentleman he just went, there you go. I went, what about you? Like, you're not thinking to us, like, what's the catch here?
Don't keep unzipping. It's just weird.
Oh no, I've done it for a lot less than 100 quid. Tire's a tire.
Well, quite right, mate. Yeah, they're expensive, them fronts, aren't they?
But you don't think about it when you play. That was worth it.
So I'll go down the last round at Brands and give Deco a hand, and he'd had somebody else helping him out with suspension setup, and I literally looked at the setup sheet they had, and I just like, I'm surprised you could even ride this. It must have been horrendous.
Kev, I've had a chat with Kev
Yeah.
today for about an hour, just catching up with him,
Oh,
and
just
he was saying
yeah.
it was night and day the
Yeah.
difference.
And we I literally went in, and before he even rode it, like before FP1, it's like, well, we're not going out on that setting. It's like, that's just going to be terrible. It's like, right, let me guess, it's doing this and this. And he went, yeah. It's like, right, it would do, because you may as well have put fucking broom handles in it. So we put a sensible base setting in, sent him out, and he was pretty good straight away. It's fairly quick. And then over the weekend, we just detailed a little bit. Like Kev spent hours out with his camcorder.
Kev's the man.
And occasionally watches the sessions. And,
but you're not wrong. He's always
Yeah.
looking at the camera.
yeah, he does the camera. He's
busy.
His system is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
So
It is.
So to anybody who doesn't know Kev's system, he goes out camcorder.
Well, I feel like we should be saying this. Hold on. Kev
Yeah,
has
no,
a
it is-
system.
it
Kev
is
has
Kev-
it. Hold on.
It's
We're
sort of his
touching
Kev's
some
system,
nerves.
actually,
It is.
yeah.
So we're going to leave it as Kev's. Respect
yeah.
for Chrissy. That's Kev's
Yeah, that's
system.
Kev's
We'll leave
system,
Kev.
yeah.
That's Kev's
Kev
system.
has a system, and it's
And he'd be
good.
willing to sell it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's
If you want Kev's system, you get in
got-
touch with Kev, and you have to pay
exactly.
Kev.
Yeah. No, quite,
Kev is the
fair
man.
point, yeah. So yeah, he's got his spotter. He's like riding coach,
Yeah.
and then his dad and his mates or whatever like spanner the bike, and basically I went in and just pointed where I'd set the bike up.
Tried to get him set up and more
Little bits,
comfortable on
and
it.
we were top 10 in both races, and like way closer to the front groups, and yeah, scrapping for like the back of the podium sort of area, and just absolutely stepped it up.
He was in the battle for 6th, wasn't he?
Yeah.
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 That little gaggle.
Yeah, and it was that thing where he was top 10 both races, and he just went, and he was top 10 because he's fast enough to be top 10.
He was firmly in there. It wasn't.
That's the first time he
Yeah.
had a bike that was right for it.
Yeah.
And you go, there's a little bit of thing where you just sort of go, like almost proud dad thing. It's like, I've literally been here for the weekend, and it's like, I'm claiming this one. Yeah, just
Did you not come away from there and think there's an opportunity for exactly what Matt stands for with Deco? Is that does he not tick every box of your criteria of a lad who?
Yes, the only
Not to put you in
I
an
think
awkward situation.
no.
I don't mean
my
that.
only-
But you are now in this
Yeah.
situation.
No, but
so-
there's
Yeah.
a lot.
answer it.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of lads in there that do need the guidance,
Yeah.
and they would and they would benefit hugely from somebody going in there, such as yourself, and spending a weekend with them and going, "What the fuck have you been doing?" The difference is you did actually go in with one of those individuals and you saw firsthand.
And I think the difference with Deco's team is we, as a team structure, as the Rapid Honda Marvel HCL team, is we're a whole
Isn't it?
we're a whole team structure. So it's like if we have a rider, it's like they're in our team, and it's run to the systems we've got in place. We've got rider coaching people, we've got like technical, we've got like a whole system, a whole structure. We're not just spanner and motorbikes. Whereas Deco, he's already got 90% of that. He literally just needed a bit of suspensions help.
Yeah.
And the difference is now, like, Kev understands what we were changing that weekend and why we were changing it. So it's like, during the year, I'm fully expecting every now and again what do you think to
So
this?
should we do this? Should we do that?
Yeah. But they don't need our full team structure because the team he's got's really good. They just needed that last little polish.
Right.
So,
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, before we move on to the Patreon questions,
yeah.
does Matt want to go on the roads?
We have...
No, hold on. Do you want to go on the roads with the team?
With
that team?
I'd be more than happy to take that team to TT, yeah.
There you go.
It'd be mega.
What about Matt? Like,
Yeah, but the BSB thing is like priority.
of course, well, yeah.
So that's sort of almost, we've done that and we've worked the budgets out and we've gone, right, we can do that. And it's almost, we've touched on doing TT things, but it's almost, we'd have to go and find a load more money. We'd have to do this and that. It's like, it's not being priority one for that team.
Your
not-
focus is the BSB for the time being.
yeah.
definitely an option.
Oh yeah.
You definitely want to do it, but the criteria has
Matt,
fallen.
when he came over the year, I was doing it. Like, he thoroughly enjoyed it. He'd like to be involved. Yeah, it's just we'd just have to have work money out and work logistics out and everything else. But it is doable. Yeah.
I tell you what, I am looking at the clock because I'm seeing it. Aidan Robinson tonight says you have to be here by 11, but I really want to touch on this, and it's the perfect crowd to talk about it. How do we get more riders to do the TT? or what the point. You see, this is a huge can of worms that can't be answered in a few words, and it's just food for thought, because it's like it's something that you can't push on someone.
Yeah.
And it's something that you can't
I'm
like.
reading our Patreon questions.
No, but you know what I mean? You can't. Go on then. What's his Patreon question? Go for it.
No, Termu, what's wrong with gravy or coffee?
It's hot and brown, and I had a very bad experience.
Feels like deja vu. Sorry, I
I'll start. You've got to go with that one. Yeah,
tickle me.
That is good. That, but no, but
how do we get people into the roads?
Has the desire for young riders to do the TT gone?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I suppose my concern with it is, I think there's two elements. It's got so difficult to go straight to TT because you've got to be, because the level is so 70, fast now.
Have they dropped the numbers again? I'm not sure. The TT entry opens today. It's actually today.
Yeah,
you got the same email. No, but it's you would have got it, no?
Yeah.
No, but even so, it's like, you know, the numbers are reducing because the speeds are getting greater. And then we talked about it briefly on it. It's like how you can't.
Well, to be fair,
can't turn up. Like Glenn Irwin turned up and he did 1,000 laps, and he did it with the right attitude. You know, even at a top level rider, the work and the commitment that has to go into that is it's ridiculous.
Yeah, but it's I think to go straight to TT now, you've got to be riding well at national level, and you've got to be fast, because to go straight in, you've got to turn up as a newcomer, and you've got to do like the cut-off speed this year to qualify for Superbike was like 121 points a minute to get on the grid, and you go 121 and a half, and you go, that's fast.
That is cooking.
And you go,
that is cooking. That is so
you've got to be so committed to your homework and the bike prep, and you've got to have a decent team with you. It's like, that's a big ask to go in as a newcomer and do that, or the equivalent on a 600. It's like a twin would be a bit easier because the depth of field, it probably isn't quite there, and the bikes are a bit cheaper or whatever, but you go, like, it's a big ask to go into doing that as a newcomer.
Has the pressure to perform at that putting people off?
I think there might be an element of,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, because half the problem is, if you're a good rider, you're like, you know, your midfield sort of BSB or in that paddock, or you're a front level club rider, you want to go to TT because it's the ethos of it's the top thing, it's the TT. Yeah. You might not want to go to the Manx Grand Prix, which is going to cost you a load of money. You're not going to get much coverage. You'll get a bit of support off the government because it's the TT organisers running it now. So you're going to get the learning experience. You're going to get time with Milky and Johnny Barton and all them boys. But it's the Manx Grand Prix, innit? You go, it doesn't have the shine, the glitz, the glamour, and it clashes with BSB. You go, if you want to go to TT nowadays, you're going to have to go through the Manx to get your course knowledge up, to get your basic speed up, and to prove you're quick enough. And
which is definitely the safer way of doing it.
Yeah.
As a rider.
Yeah.
No, it is.
And to be fair, that's because the Manx has been restructured, like there's not as many races and all the rest of it. You go, it's stopped. And I've had this conversation with Paul Phillips of it had to stop being the retirement ground for old TT racers.
The Manx.
Yeah. It had to stop being a load of club racers riding around basically annoying everybody on the Isle of Man for 2 weeks. It's like that had to stop because it's pointless. It's like you shouldn't get to go and ride around there just because you fancy a go. Like you go in there to race and you should be going fast.
I think this is a point we touched on as well, is Christian said it very, very well. The thing with the Manx is that what's your entries for that? 500 quid?
Yeah,
600
quid a race.
Like to shut a whole island, it should be... It's cheap racing it. It should be thousands of pounds to shut that island down.
Yeah, and
I'm trying to be careful what I say. I always say something wrong and end up with some fucking keyboard warrior ripping.
I think this is
saying something wrong. But I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
There's so much goes into that, the resources to make that event happen.
Well, to put the event on costs the government as much to run the Manx Grand Prix as it does to run TT near enough, because you've got the same road closures, the same reorganisation, the same helicopters, and you go and you get sod all back from selling it to anybody.
But in the same breath, it's a bit. I want to talk about younger, like people coming into the sport.
Yeah.
Younger or older, doesn't matter. If you're like, if you had Billy Connell turn up and go, I want to have a go at it, Mint, we need.
Yeah, but
has the attraction dropped?
Well, as a
That's
you
know what I mean. Because because the Manx, you know what I mean. If you're like, well, I want to go and race there, you can go do the Manx. You know what I mean? Pay your entry. I agree on a commercial element. To survive in this game, you need the commercial backing. Sponsors. You can sell the TT easier than the Manx. That's a fact. You know what I mean? But to learn it,
I suppose the question with that is the generation coming through now. It's not even your millennials, is it now?
The wet wipes. Yeah.
It's the lads born in.
Can't even flush a wet wipe now, man.
The lads born in the mid 2000s. Where you go, the whole culture. Like the whole, there's a culture change, isn't there?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
We used to build a ramp in the street and just
jump over your mates.
Jump over your mates and crash and take half your face off.
When's the last time?
They're all on them now, aren't they?
Yeah, and you go, but the whole culture is, oh no, don't do anything that's risky. Don't do. And there's been so much effort put into reducing risk in life, and you go, we're all going to die. It's like.
Get over it. When's the last time we saw someone going to school with a cast on crutches? Yeah. You just don't see it now, do you? You know what I mean? It was a badge of honour. But this is the thing. This is the thing that's going to be so hard to tackle. Both the Manx Grand Prix, the Classic TT and the TT. It's that culture.
And of course,
we need that culture to change. And of course,
you used to get half your TT lads with the Irish road races, and there's sod all Irish road racing now.
Well, I was just going to say,
I tell you what, Anne Forsyth and the team have brought back Tam McGee mind. That has been such a hurdle to get over. But Tam McGee's back, outside Armoy, Cookstown's back. It's good that things have come back out the woodwork. The Ulster Grand Prix, we won't talk about that with Dave, but
I love the Ulster.
But that's a different money pit altogether on that side of things. But it's good that thing. Just because something's gone doesn't mean it's forgotten, and it doesn't mean it may not come back. And things are coming back, and you think, please just hold the line here.
Do we think that oh God, this is a controversial one. Do we think that the situation with Shaky could have an effect on anything?
Massively.
Yeah.
Massively.
Yeah, because if
other people are coming out the woodwork now and putting claims in and everything like that, and you're just thinking money's just going to go up.
Yeah.
How do you see that changing the sport?
I mean, I'm assuming he'll just get paid off in the end and it won't go to court. Because if it goes to court and he wins, then the insurance companies are just going to back straight out of road bike racing,
of course they are.
Or they'll just ramp the premium straight up, and then you go all of a sudden your race meeting that's currently costing you £600 for the weekend because it's got stupidly expensive already. All of a sudden your insurance goes up. It's £1,000 a weekend just for your entry, if you can get in it, and it's everything would get more expensive, and we could all point the finger at him and. Yeah.
Well, no, but this is the thing. The more the blame culture, the American element,
that's American suing culture.
It is, but then that's echoed down to us. But
to do, is it really?
I'll tell you what, though. But then the snowball effect of this is going to be humongous. But at the moment, when we're golden era, you got to ride the storm, and BSB haven't changed their prices. Have you noticed that?
And that changed
on the entries. They haven't, but obviously
I don't look at that.
Matt does.
Yeah, exactly. Matt does. Well, we did Superbike for you. You didn't pay entry in Superbike. So.
No. Yeah, you just paid that £250,000 on the other side.
Yeah, exactly. No, save that $2,500.
No, but even so, other clubs have had to put the prices up. Your BEMCs, limit. Of course, the problem is, but I'm not saying that's direct.
Yeah, because
link, but insurance in general is going up. Yeah. But because of this situation.
Yeah,
it's only going to get worse.
Yeah, and the thing is with BSB is it's a business that realistically could survive without the entry fees at all.
Yeah.
It's like, the entry fees are a few grand a weekend going into the pot, but, they're getting people through the gate, they're selling the TV stuff, they've got the merch. It's like, that's a big enough...
It's a corporation in itself.
Yeah, that's a big enough show that it could survive. But Bemsey and North Gloucester and Wirral 100... where the riders have to come through to get to BSB, if they're gone, then you're in trouble, aren't you?
That's it's the evolution of sport, isn't it? It's even. I tell you what, even when my dad was paying like £20 an entry, even then it would have been, I can't afford this.
Yeah.
There's never been expendable money. I'm not trying to justify it, but there's a natural ethos on that. But in the same breath, it is scary.
Yeah,
it is scary times. But at the moment, we don't know. But God. life's for living, and hopefully the sport way I will, man.
It will. You just wonder how the job's going to change.
I'm moving to Latvia or somewhere like that, somewhere they don't give a fucking.
Trust me, go to Mexico. You can do what you like.
I'm off to Mexico.
Actually, no, just go. There's too much rule and regulation here. When we went to Mexico, we were in this hacienda in this house, 10k from this road race circuit. Some of the lads, we're going to go and just ride a few laps. It's like, we've all got race bikes. It's like, yeah, but the bloke who organised it, Pedro, said that the cops are fine as long as we don't crash them. So just taking one of them had an ex-Scott Redding Moto 2 bike, and he's just riding it through this town in Mexico to go and do some laps of a circuit that's open to traffic, and as long as you don't crash into anything, nobody cares.
It's
like, cracking, this is better.
I tell you what, honestly, I'm going to have to flick through these. Yeah. I'm so sorry you're late, but obviously thank you so much to Jess, to Jason Forge. Oh, hold on. He's given a shout out to Tom Ward and Tom Oliver and Sam Cox. Obviously, you've worked with all them, haven't you?
Yeah, that was a busy weekend, that was at Donington. That was chaos.
Yeah, how the hell did you cope with his words?
I don't think I did.
There we are.
Weirdly, the weirdness with that weekend was we did a bit of we basically did tech support for their team all year. Because it was supposed to be with Sam Cox, and then when Sam got injured in Spain, it became Wardy.
Yeah.
Tom Oliver generally sort of sorts himself out. But, I'd pop over when we'd finished with the superbike and all the stress had gone. We'd pop into their awning and chat through some stuff and have a look at some data. But they're relatively self-sufficient, and then literally walked in the garage at Donington and there's just motorbikes everywhere and chaos. But the problem is then because everybody's there, then you kept getting... Dave, what do you think to them? Dave, can you do me engine brake? Davey's line. I actually said to Matt, I said, if I turn up at Brands Action, there's 4 bikes in the awning, I said, I'm just getting a van and I'm driving home. And I'm like, I know, I'm not kidding. It's like, and they're all really good lads. It's like, I like them all, I get on with all of them, but just not all at the same time.
No.
Yeah.
I think Terry Nichols, we answered that.
Where's Frank going next season? You're not sure on that side of things?
Not sure.
Yeah.
Even unfinished business on the roads. Nice. You fucking ticked every single box, haven't you?
Jesus. Oh, well, we've been at it a while, haven't we?
Yeah, like Dave Court, like Dave Court's about Honda support, obviously.
Oh, is that Dave Court, the scrutineer?
I have no idea, to be honest. He's one of our lovely patrons, so be a patron on that side of things. And obviously, you must give a shout out. By the way, thank you, Conor Henry, on that side that he was talking about. Dave, if the Ulster Grand Prix ever came back, would you ever give it another go?
Honestly,
that's a yes. That's just a yes.
To actually ride it, that was like TT aside, because the TT is the best place you'll ever ride a motorbike. But the Ulster was the best circuit. If I would categorise it, it's just so good. Like there was even the hairpin was all right. And you go
downhill.
You got a bit technical. You just go. That's just every element of that place was amazing. And it scared the life out of me more than anywhere else because it was mass start and you've got lads with Irish accents who they do not scare easy, do they? And you just go, I'm going to have to... And the first corner's 6th gear, innit? And you're like,
that's class, isn't it? I tell you
so
what.
You might be tempted.
I'd love to run somebody on a bike there so I could stand there in the driving rain going, please, I'm not on that.
I tell you what, I know this will never ever... Mervyn White will single-handedly not give a shit what I think, but why can't you just bring Sandstone back to the Northwest, for the start line? That was for the Ulster Grand Prix, mate. You're sitting there and you it was just high side music. Yeah. You're just sitting there, just going, dun, 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 and you're like, and you're just
got you in the go.
Mate, you were in 6th gear while you were in 2nd. You're and you were just like, I'm just revved. It was just class, man. Absolutely class. But I tell you what, honestly, I'm looking at my time. I'll be getting kicked out the house on that side of things. But Dave, thank you so much. You must give your YouTube channel. You are the shit when it comes to YouTube.
God, yeah.
Big number.
Yeah. If you need to cure insomnia, Obsession Engineering on YouTube. Basically, we do project bikes. There's loads of if you want to see what actually goes on behind the scenes at BSB, we've got loads of basically every round this year. See how stressed I look. But yeah, project bikes, a bit of riding around on stuff, some stupid adventures in Mexico. Yeah, if you want rider training, if you love riding your bike, but you want to be either faster, more confident, safer, check out rapidtraining.co.uk.
Nicely done, mate. Nicely done. Any more final words before I go through the sponsors?
No, I'm passing you a gratitude on from my mate Jim, who has built an Aprilia 660 for the He did
Oh,
the
yeah.
No Limits.
Yeah. And this is the irony, of course, as I put on my project builds, and then nobody comes to me to build bikes because I've told them how to do it.
Well, he said to me the other day, I was helping him just getting it ready.
Oh,
for
I've had loads. I've had loads of that. Oh, I'm building a Fireblade. Your videos have been really useful. It's like, yeah, not spent a penny with me. Yeah.
Well, that's your own fucking
Yeah,
fault.
it is,
You're an
yeah.
idiot. But Jim says thank you.
Yeah,
So
no problem.
it's,
Yeah. I might be doing a 24 Fireblade soon. So,
Right.
Well, there we go. Oh, it's all coming out. I like it. But also from the Lord Commander herself, we must say, Chasin the Racin calendars are out now. Oh, so we haven't even seen them, Joe.
I mean, they're the
We haven't
2024 calendars, but they're discounted.
The
yeah,
discount.
massively discounted.
Hoodies. We've got the hoodies coming.
Yes, well, I'm
The
actually.
Ugling Co's,
It's a nice hoodie, that.
Thank you, mate. You know,
It's a lovely hoodie. That I'm pleased you didn't offer me one because I wouldn't have enjoyed that at all.
no, that's it. No, these are. I tell you what. So Ugly & Co. You have to get these through Ugly & Co. So Grace.
I did see you actually taking it out of the packet when we got it.
Oh man, it's that new. It's fresh. Even got the tags and everything. Where did I even put the?
Yeah, I mean,
the
you've not
tags
dropped
gone
any
somewhere.
dinner down or anything.
Not yet.
No.
There's time yet,
Yeah.
but obviously you have to go through Ugly & Co. for this. We've also got Christmas cards, which is a bit weird because this will be getting released on the 16th. So you've got time. You've still got time.
just be quick,
You've still got time to just
But
hurry
you've
up
got to
and
pay
get
for
some.
the first class post, haven't you?
Exactly, that's it. And obviously we've got new caps coming, new colours, new embroidery, new everything on that side of things, which is really good. So then please remember to talk about Ugly & Co. The collab with CTR. God, I've learned to read since Chrissy asked me to do this.
Yeah, I mean,
you know,
that
when
is
me
pretty
and
good,
Chrissy,
yeah.
when me and
Have
Chrissy
you got
built
that
this
on really big text?
really
Yeah.
massive, you know,
Yeah.
when me and Chrissy built this pod, he did not tell me that we had to learn to read. You know, that he sold me down the river when we were building this together. Twat.
Yeah.
But the hoodies are dropping on the 17th. All right, so 16th. This is out obviously today. We're talking in the future. So 16th. So obviously they're out tomorrow on the 17th. On December on the Ugly & Co. website, linked in the description. Guaranteed shipping in time for Christmas.
Yeah. If you ordered one
I'm
last
reading.
week.
Bear in mind, I'm reading off this from Grace. So if anyone's reading this and it goes
Guaranteed
wrong,
for Christmas 2025.
exactly. But there we go. But no, we must close the show. But on that side of things, Dave, honestly, thank you so much for letting us rob your Friday evening.
No, that's all right. Thank you for driving all the way down to Lincoln.
No, it's
It's
all
been
good.
a pleasure.
Thanks for having
Yeah, it
us.
saved me having the eating on at home for 2 hours.
Well, we robbed you on that side of things. But obviously, this show wouldn't have been brought to you without OMG Racing, JCT, Truck and Trailer Hire, and Lucky Day competitions. We've got a group chat for the CTR pod, and Christian just put on when I didn't win that van. He's like, it's good that, you know, even the co-hosts here and the hosts and like jumping in and getting involved. But obviously, we're still working on a discount code with these guys, and it's going to be good. But thank you so much for coming on board with Lucky Day competitions. Great bunch of people, and we couldn't do it without you. But we have an individual episode sponsor for this one, and it is AKA Automotive, supplying new and used motorcycles in Shipley, West Yorkshire.
My neck of the woods.
Oh, yeah, you should be reading this. It would be better. I'll tell you, you read
Do you
that.
want me
in the right
No,
accent.
no. I think
I'll just read it.
having a Yorkshireman do it is so
AKA
much better.
Automotive, supplying new and used motorcycles in Shipley, West Yorkshire, representing BSA as well as Norton very soon. We have a wide range of race, road bikes available, and the proud sponsor of Harley McCabe,
Hey, good. One of our lot then.
Charlie Hopkins and Craig Atkinson. So call in, mention Chasin the Racin, and get 10% off all clothing, oils and parts. So if you're near AKA Motorcycles in Shipley, go in, mention you've heard of me, and get
Heard him there. He went full Yorkshire.
I say
there,
that,
didn't he?
but you actually, I know we're trying to finish, and you've actually mentioned our second rider for this year that we
There you go.
literally completely glossed over, didn't we? So my apologies to Harley. Basically, he's like Matt spotted him on a Moto3 bike, and it struggled a little bit. Little team, no money. Last couple of rounds, they put him on an MLAV bike, won at Donington, showed his class, and we've gone, yeah, sod it. Let's put him on a super sport bike, and
And you're putting him in Cup, aren't you?
I think so. Yeah.
So Cup is involved in the same championship on that.
Yeah, they just do 3 less rounds and save us
Yeah.
a chunk of money. I think that's the plan.
20 grand.
Something like that,
Something
yeah.
like that.
Yeah,
I love figures, mate. I love a figure.
Yeah.
There you are. But no, obviously, thank you so much for everyone to. By the way, long story short, I'm selling me V2 Ducati now.
Yeah.
Long story. But if you're interested in buying me Ducati Super Sport Spec, I'm looking at you here going, just swap Hondas and just buy Ducati. But that's up for sale, so please get in touch with me. But yet again, thank you so much to AKA Automotive, OMG Racing, Lucky Day Competitions, and JC Truck and Trailer Hire. Joe, Dave, Gravy Davey, Wavy Davey, whatever the fuck we call it.
Yeah, it's great.
Thank you very much, mate.
Cheers,
Awesome,
guys. Thank
See you
you.
in a bit.